Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to Thorpe TV on YouTube and ThorpeTube on Kick. I'm Grace Thorpe, here with my co-host and employee, Ben Thorpe.
Well, I thought on this one we were like, are you sort of interviewing me?
No, I'm just introing the stream, just because it's a Thorpe TV stream. That's what I usually do. You're leading it.
Okay.
This is mostly your stream.
Well, is it?
Well, I mean...
Isn't it your response? Kind of.
I guess I kind of started this, so yeah, it is kind of my response, yeah.
I mean, I think the idea was you disrespected this person, and supposedly I did too, but like...
Yeah, it was...
Shouldn't we look at it?
Yeah, it was largely about me.
What's the truth?
What is the truth behind the Manar fallout? That's what we're going to be going through here, ladies and gentlemen. Because if you're unaware, or even if you are aware, I'll give you a little brief background. Manar is a Muslim streamer on YouTube, Manar Reports.
Yes.
Who we found on Ava the G's panel. Hey, thank you, Damius, for gifting us sub.
Thank you, Damius.
Let's go, thank you. Is that too loud? I turned it up. Let me turn it up. Sorry about that. And we've had about 4 streams with him total. Mm-hmm. And within those 4 streams, he has claimed to be disrespected by us. And
He's claimed to be the victim of us, and he can never interact with us again.
Exactly.
Because we're morally horrendous.
Yes.
And Ava's right, and she's morally pretty solid.
Right. So
it's a mini version of every interaction pretty much we've ever had.
Yeah. And since we've only had about 4 streams with him, maybe like 5 or 6 hours total worth of content, it's fairly easy to go through what happened step by step to see exactly who was disrespected and what exactly happened.
I would say, unlike all the previous people we've interacted with who really don't have a commitment to the truth, and whatever, they're people who are like kind of obviously liars. Right,
and they'll switch their morality and their claims based on emotions and stuff. They
Manar,
don't give a shit.
I think, genuinely cares about what's true. So even in his worst part of his crash out, he was like, the things said about them are said about them. They deserve it, but he didn't say like they're true, because he knows like, you shouldn't do that. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of hope, and in some ways he's vastly the most hopeful person. But on the other hand, he's also like the person who crashed out the hardest, the quickest.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's a speed run Thorpe crash out. But, and also he's a debate bro, so he should be interested in like what exactly happened here, because he's staking a claim pretty hardcore that he
believes in objective truth. So
yes, right.
I don't think the Islamic understanding of objective truth is different than Christian understanding of objective truth, and it's not really very much different than the secular understanding of Christian truth. I mean, of truth. But I think he does have some respect for truth, whereas a lot of secular people don't. They just don't really care. They're relativists.
Yeah.
Or they tell themselves they're relativists, unless it doesn't work for them. So
yeah,
I don't think that's really possible for this guy to do, and so he's going to have a complete mental breakdown. He can't go there and go, well, yeah, I lied, but that's okay.
Exactly.
No.
Exactly. WL Phantom.
So I'm looking
at
have him have yet another massive crisis, because, I mean, he's just not going to say things like, well, that didn't happen.
Right.
That's how you see it, and everyone sees things differently. It's fairly obvious. Like, all right, so.
Thank you, WL Phantom, for this gifted sub. Also, if you guys would like to support on YouTube, I do have the link tree pinned. We have Cash App, PayPal, and Venmo, I think.
This may seem a little boring, but we've had literally dozens of people say that they're victims in the same sort of way. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's important to hear, and it's kind of one of these things where you say, like, the Zionists say, like, we're the victims here, and it's hard to get back, but it really matters, like, to look at the beginning and see, like, what happened.
Yeah.
Who were the aggressors and who were defending themselves, instead of saying, well, somehow I was, if it's true, it's true, right?
Yeah.
And in this case, unlike, say, with your mother, where it's like, years and years and years and years and years and years to get back to, like, where it's all started. And she changed her story completely, right? I totally admit this stuff, and then, that everything I said was, I was actually being abused the whole time. You controlled my brain.
Right.
I don't think this guy's going to say he'd have to be like the ultimate sort of pussy in the world to say, like, you made me behave this way.
Absolutely.
Because you controlled my brain, Ben Thorpe, and I'm just like the weakest fucking human ever walked on the planet. It wouldn't even make any sense. So, all right, let's go through it. So
we're going to
So the contention is, and there's also a little bit of bullshit going on here too, which is, I belong to an honor culture, right? Okay. Mm-hmm. And so, like, in our honor culture, we have different standards. So, okay. First of all, you don't really. You're an American. You've largely lived your life as someone who's cosmopolitan.
Yeah.
So you don't have this, like, but even if you did, there's banter in honor culture, obviously.
Right.
They call each other camel fuckers all the time.
Right.
Right. We know that. So that's not even true.
We've seen him actually do that.
So he's just bullshitting. He's doing this kind of bullshit that, like, minorities can do. That's so loathsome to say, what he's basically saying is, I'm a sensitive little bitch because I'm Muslim. It's like black people, if they can call you a cracker, but you can't call them the N-word. Like, it's pathetic, sensitivity. Yeah. We need special treatment. Okay.
Especially because he doesn't apply his own rules to himself, because he proudly plays a video where he's in a debate and he says, I fuck your mother, I fuck your wife, and blah, blah, blah. So
right.
That's
so if you're going to be a precious little minority guy, then just call out microaggressions. But if you're going to come in, like, attacking, so whatever. I mean, it's like basic masculine standards or human standards to say, you can't say, like, I can dish it out, but I can't take it. That's like Ruby level shit, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and she's more resilient than him, and she's a fucking whore, pornographer, drug addict, career criminal, like larcenist. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're saying I hold lower standards for myself than she holds for herself. I mean, dude.
Yeah, we're hoping that's not the outcome of this, because that would be really disappointing.
So, on this day, and so, like, what I'm saying is, like, there's kind of, let's go back.
Sure.
So there's like three, there's games that are being played here. One is, I come from honor culture. You disrespect me. Okay. Mm-hmm. We don't say these things about you are gay. Okay, first of all, you do. Mm-hmm. But I get that, like, you can try to claim that. Then there's, like, regular culture, normie culture, okay, which he's obviously part of as an American.
Yes.
And there is some kind of idea, like, yeah, you don't just say, like, your wife's a whore to someone randomly if she's standing there, right? Like, or your daughter is a fucking whore, right?
Right.
But it's a little less, maybe, like, the standards a little bit, like, you don't talk about blasphemy, really, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And then there's YouTube culture, which he's been on for 2 fucking years. Mm-hmm. in which, like, yeah, you have to let certain things go because you can't punch someone in the face who's named like Dick Smacker 435.
Right.
Okay, but all you can just say is like, I don't think you'd say that in person, but what am I going to do, right?
Right.
And he's aware of all these cultures, and if anything, he's more of a YouTube culture. But he claims we disrespected him first. It would have to matter that it's first,
Yes.
right?
Right.
When in fact, he disrespected us and himself, and especially his wife.
Especially her.
In a way that I think is like unbelievable, and
Yeah.
I think is, regardless of us, right? He's put her in a position where I just think there needs to be a massive like reconsideration of that whole thing.
Yeah.
That's just simply logically necessary at this point. But let's take a look. And it's going to be a little boring, and we're going to torture you because we're not going to have people go, well, you probably said something before that. At this time, we had no idea who this person was.
No idea.
Had no idea. Watched him for like, what, 3 minutes on
3
Ava's
minutes on Ava's
stream with
Yeah.
Ruby and Lola. Thought he was funny. Didn't really know. Was he a debate bro or what?
Yeah.
And then they kicked him, and we brought him over. He was somewhat aware of us. We had no idea who this person was. So this is how the interaction went. And so there's no background. I bet you said this before, or you had this thing before, or you brainwashed him with your charisma, or you sent Grace over there to, woo him on Romeo, and he's a victim in all these ways, which are all bullshit anyways, by the way.
Yeah.
But so let's see what happened.
So we start with his stream from, let's see here, 3 days ago.
No, why aren't we
June-
starting with our side of it because the audio is better?
Yes. Okay, let me pull that up. But just because YouTube has these details. June 20th, 2025, 3 days ago, he was, as you can clearly see here, on Ava's panel.
You can't clearly see that here.
What?
Oh, you mean he's up here?
No,
He's
I'm
not
saying,
on the panel at this point.
Well, I'm saying he's backstage.
Yeah,
so
this
he was
was-
involved in this stream.
Yeah.
And all right,
But
give
I'm
me
just saying,
1 second.
technically speaking, he's not on the panel.
That's true. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, give me 1 second. I'm gonna pull up this. Okay, so we had a stream called "We Found a New Muslim Friend." Okay, this stream.
The reason we're not showing it from his side is because his audio is shit.
Yeah.
But we will switch over to his because he does this thing of muting and then just talking to his stream
Oh, okay.
in
Actually,
a way that we can't hear it.
I have a slight problem with this though. First of all, the timestamps for when he does that stuff is not going to match up to our timestamps on our stream.
Okay, but so can't we?
So how are we going to know? Because he mutes
Can't
a
you
lot.
figure it out based on like just addition?
Okay, hang on a second. Let me play this.
I know what you mean. Dowry is paying for.
Wait a minute.
Dowry. Okay.
You can do this. Can't you just do this while I just it's going to be boring for a while. Do you know what I'm saying? And then you can figure out. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
But we have
do you
to
understand
start.
what I'm saying?
I understand
Time-
what you're saying, but we have to start with his stream because I actually didn't start streaming until like 10 minutes into this or so. So we'll start with his stream. Then when he starts talking about dowry stuff, we'll switch over to our stream because we have better audio.
But he we're not interested in this. He's not interacting with us on his stream.
Look, in literally 2 seconds, we get on. So
Oh, and that's not on our stream?
No, it's
okay,
not.
sure. Gotcha.
all right,
Let's
so
do
start
it.
here. Whenever he starts talking about dowry stuff, that's when we switch.
We'll
over.
do the best we can. Let's go.
Do you want to answer this question from Ivan Pro? If he was so disrespectful from the jump, why did you start a show with him and stake your whole career on it?
King squared the circle. Okay, yeah. Actually, as you'll see, his disrespectfulness here, because not only is he disrespectful, but he's cowardly. He was doing this thing of privately talking to his stream, which I kind of saw him doing. I wasn't sure what was going on. You generally, as streamers, kind of give each other respect.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize he was saying this sort of stuff. And the reason he didn't say it is because he's a coward. But also he's like he has obviously like massive daddy issues to be that disrespectful and leave it public. So it's public, right? He just has no shame,
right?
And really, literally, this is like for him, it's like I don't see how his marriage isn't destroyed here,
right?
But we'll get into that later.
It's pretty huge.
You know, I don't know. I see him as being quite immature. I don't really. It's not surprised me that a young man is somewhat disrespectful to an older man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's not like a relationship killer to me. As far as streamers go, I mean, what male streamer hasn't been disrespectful to me? Like profoundly disrespectful. And even like, well, let's say like Dalmatian Dog, like one of the guys that's like hung in there, like he's always calling Grace a whore.
Yeah.
And me a slob and not a man or whatever. Like, so I don't.
No biggie.
I don't really have a lot of problems with disrespectfulness. He claims that he does, right? So this isn't about.
Right.
I'm just saying he's wrong that we were disrespectful to him. He was incredibly disrespectful to us, and then we responded with some, tried to turn it into banter, and then he acted like a total bitch, which is like the absolute. I don't care what fucking culture you're in. If you do that, you're a bitch.
Yeah.
You're a bitch.
Yeah.
You want a towel snap, and then the towel gets snapped on you. You cry, and then you say you're a victim. Fuck out of here. Any man on earth would say, like, kid, get the fuck out of it. Go be with mommy. Go cry with mommy. Don't ever come around the men again.
Right.
Right?
Right. And I just wanted to say, he also disrespected us twice before we made any jokes about him. One was what he said about me privately during this stream, and the other one was when I was streaming with him, and he just kept calling me like a slut and a whore. Just kept doing it.
Yeah, of course.
Obviously.
Right.
So, 2 instances before.
No, I'm sure there's dozens of other stuff. It's just, like the point isn't like, of course, like anyone with common sense would. I don't think anyone disagrees with us. Like he's been incredibly disrespectful. We've been incredibly patient. Give me a fucking break.
Yeah.
But
generally.
just in case anyone has any, because sometimes when people are going at it, right? Mm-hmm. You wonder like who started it, right? And of course, a bitch like this will always say they started it. Okay,
Yeah.
but in this case, it is absolutely crystal clear.
Yeah.
What's going on here? So
let's begin. This is our first interaction with Manar ever.
The best villains I've ever seen. I think I fell in
can
love
we
a
get
little
Manar
bit.
here?
We're in his server right now. We're on a stream. I just told my people
right.
to come over.
Yo!
Ava booted him like the stupid
What a
cunt she
loser.
is.
Now, let me just say something. I know this can sound gay in a certain level.
This is
Those
crazy.
3 females.
This is
okay?
crazy.
It's boring. They're talking about
This is
makeup.
unbelievable.
Hi,
Okay.
good one.
Okay, wait. This is his stream. Okay, the unbelievable. Now this is also like he's only talking to his stream. Right?
Yes, I think so.
Because he said this like in a sense while I'm talking right to his stream.
I think so, yeah. I think so. Because, like, you didn't respond, you would have responded if
right.
he,
Just so
if
we
he had said
know,
it.
and it's no big deal.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the whole thing. There's energy, there's clash, it's interesting. And you know what they could have done? They could have said, work with us, help us, guide us. And instead, they get rid of you. Why?
Stupid.
Why?
Stupid.
That's the problem
So,
with modern women.
is it because I'm so nice? I really like Eva. Like, I really like Eva.
I hate her.
Yeah, like,
By the way, I hate to derail, but Manar is DMing me right now.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear what he's saying?
Sure.
Okay. So, I sent him the link to the stream, and I said, I'm live now. Let me know if you want to join to defend yourself.
Yeah.
He said, not interested. Thank you. You must be so mad. I read you like an open book so quickly. I know. I'm a genius, a genuine work of art. This is what being in the presence of kinghood feels like. I see through your soul, whore.
Yeah, I mean, what I would do is just block him on private DMs and just say like,
Okay.
Hey, do you want? If you want to say any of this stuff, say it on the Discord.
Okay.
Like, be a man, or I mean, you can continue to. I mean, it's so bitchy.
I know. Yeah. That's why I'm making it
To
public.
insist on it being like, I only talk to you privately, so I can hurt you, and you can't. I don't know, dude.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to, whatever.
if
If he
it's
just
worth
wants to
pursuing.
keep doing this, like, it's just such a bitch move.
Yeah.
Be a fucking man. Show up.
Yeah.
All we're doing is watching our interaction. You can watch it with us. You can watch it on your channel. You can go on Lol Cow Rejects. You can go cry to Mommy Ava and her little flat mosquito bite tits and suck on them and go, Mommy, Mommy, Mommy. They're wrong. Go ahead. Or go to Ruby and drink her cottage cheese, old lady, fentanyl imbued cottage cheese. Drink her milk. Whatever you need. Or all of them. Have them all suck your dick and tell you you're a little baby. But we know you're watching right now, and a lot of people are watching right now, and let's just, I just think we got to get past this. It's not a big problem for us.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be a big problem for you just to recognize, like, okay, yeah, that's not the problem. Then we can go on and move on from there.
Yeah.
And say, like, okay, obviously the problem isn't disrespectfulness. It's this thing of calling you gay.
Yeah.
It was a very
Okay.
of
So
calling you gay, and that
Yeah.
could be interesting. And I don't think you're gay, but I do think we could just have an interesting discussion about why you'd be so sensitive to that. People call me gay all the time, and I'm trying to get more people to call me gay because at least it keeps me. It counteracts the accusations that I'm a predatory heterosexual. At least no one said I'm a gay predator yet.
not
Well,
yet.
homosexual.
Okay, so I'm just gonna tell him.
Yeah, gay predator.
I think saying
Well,
this
Juno Thorpe just
privately.
fucking ruined it. I'm a gay predator. But at least if I go from being a heterosexual predator to a gay predator to being a pedophile to being like raping old ladies, at least at some point you'd say like, okay, well, no one actually has all of these problems. So maybe he's all these things, but maybe he's none of these things. Just keep, you know what I mean? I'm a drug addict. I'm an alcoholic. I'm a rapist. I'm a this. I'm a that. Like, can't make anything stick. It should be one main thing that's the problem.
Yeah.
So,
Dalmatian in the chat says that Manar guy is a crybaby loser. I do know that there's some drama concerning Lolcow Rejects and Manar, but
yes.
we'll maybe leave that for later.
Having
Don't want to
to
get
do
too
with
derailed.
Doxing.
Yeah. He's continuing to DM me. Do you want to hear this?
Sure.
Okay. So
I mean,
Let's
he's
see.
sitting. We all know he's sitting there watching this stream. He just finished his own stream.
yeah.
And now he's, instead of being a man, which anyone would say he should be, at
Yeah.
least man enough to just come and chat. And
Right.
say what he's got to say. He's
Right.
privately DMing you.
And you can tell he's watching because he just said, "Don't dox
It's
me, or I'll
absurd.
report you too." Meaning, because we were just talking about doxing. So he's sitting there watching the stream.
Well, the
DMing
question
me
is it
privately.
doxing to say someone's full name when it's already in, it's out there on social media? That's not really doxing.
That's not
Like
doxing.
saying someone's full name's not really doxing.
No.
It's like bank account numbers and stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's been extended
Social
to say
security
like
numbers, credit
to, like,
cards.
Yeah, the other day I was watching someone. It was actually Manar, and he's like one of these, incels on his nice kid, but he's like, PFP, right? And he's
On
like
a Discord call.
and he's like, I don't know, somehow it's like Nick or something, right? He's like, is your name Nick? And he's like, maybe. It's like, that's unhealthy. If you think by confirming your name is Nick,
Yeah.
you're like in danger. You suffer from paranoia, especially this guy. I mean, you don't even have, no one care. Literally 5 people are watching this. Okay. So you're totally paranoid, which is actually a form of kind of narcissism. Like that. Either you're just like, It's unhealthy, is what I'm saying. This
Yeah.
is a very unhealthy. If your name is Nick, you should have said, yeah.
Yeah, right.
To say maybe is crazy, and to say like that's doxing. If someone found out his name is Nick,
Yeah,
is crazy.
yeah.
But
Somebody said his full name is on his Pokemon channel. I'm not sure if that's true, but
of course, yeah, I wouldn't be
none of this is
surprised because he's
doxing.
not really careful about this. Like,
he shows a picture
yeah,
of his
here's another
wife.
one. You showed a picture of your wife.
Yeah.
Okay, so if someone takes that picture and puts it elsewhere, and you say like, "Well, you've invaded my privacy," no, they haven't.
Right.
They haven't.
Your brother also came on
And your brother.
and said his name. I mean,
But I don't care to do that. I don't care to do that. But I just think everyone should put their full name out there unless they have some reason not to. There are people who have a reason not to. I don't think you're one of them. But, whatever. Maybe you're CIA. I don't know. Whatever.
but another thing he's complaining about being a victim of that he's not a
He
victim.
claims to show his wife. He showed a picture of him with a female. Could have been his sister. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
like, whatever.
But he's shown it many times.
I could see you saying, I just want to keep that stuff out of it. But okay, you're not doing that. Okay, well, then you're not a victim of other people picking up on it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's called life.
Nick plus cave address equals doxing. All right, but let's continue with this. Oh, I was just gonna say, I'm sorry. Manar DM'd me. I said I don't think saying this privately to me is very manly. He said, Ben. I said, and if you don't want to defend yourself and just want to be exposed as a hypocrite, feel free. He said, I don't give a fuck what you think of me. Your validation of me is valueless to me. You fat slob. Don't dox me or I'll report you too.
So just quote, I don't give a fuck what you think of me. So then why did you write this?
So
if you
then
didn't give
why
a
did
fuck, you
write
wouldn't have written it.
this? If you didn't give a fuck, you wouldn't have sent that to me.
You're passionately interested in what I think about you.
You're passionately interested in what.
That's why you're watching our stream right now,
That's why you're watching.
fuming with rage and on the verge of tears.
Suffer. Yeah.
Not caring looks the exact opposite of that.
Don't care.
You're just lying.
Let's
Could I get a
let's continue.
cheat?
Yeah, I gotta go roll them. I'll let this roll for a minute.
Why do you like her?
You had a lot of them.
She's so kind. She
smoked
came
all
to
of
me.
them.
Maybe because
Somebody snuck in here and smoked him. It's terrible. I'm gonna report that to somebody.
she's the one that came and approached
disgusting.
me. Now I have the opportunity, for example, to speak to the Thorpes, for example. You see what I mean? Because of her. So I feel like I'm actually super grateful for her.
Oh, you can be grateful to her in that way, but
How did she approach you? How did she find you?
So I'm on my Discord. She showed up. She said that she saw my deconstruction zone video. Did you guys see that?
we never heard about you until 5 minutes ago.
So yeah, I'm a big Muslim debater. I debate for,
That's also, I mean, unless you're saying you're big physically, which you're not. I mean, what would a small Muslim debater be if you're a big one? I mean, you get almost no views after 2 years.
Do you have a RV key? It's stinky.
How would you define a small or even medium-sized creator if you're a big Muslim creator? I mean,
I don't like debating Christians, but deconstruction zone is a piece of it. And he loves to debate Christians, so I went on, and he has the same argument, the Aisha argument.
you know, this is interesting. I just noticed a piece of it. He's saying that because I'm an older man, and so here you do find a little bit of a, more traditional thing. Which okay, I don't have a problem with that.
So
What is he? What is he?
he's
an atheist?
he used to be a Christian. Now he's a very strong anti-Christian. So he has very strong evidences to deconstruct Christianity. He's very strong, but he's so weak in Islam. Like his major argument about Islam is Aisha. That's it.
Yeah. It's a stupid argument.
So you guys.
I'm not Muslim, obviously, but I don't know that much about it. But I do.
So
have a
we
master's
agree. We
degree in
agree on this
theology.
position, right? The Christians, we agree on this. There's no scientific, like we don't have a consensus scientifically. We had the consensus biologically. What it was,
For what?
right? Right? There was consensus back in the day on what is the age of marriage from biology. They wouldn't make.
Yeah, it's customary. It's somewhat. The point is, a culture can decide on that age what's appropriate, what's not, and usually it is when you're no longer a child biologically. And what exactly that means, a culture figures that out on behalf of their daughters. And
I agree, and you're allowed to disassociate with the culture. For example, let's say 9-year-olds are allowed. You don't have to go at 9 years old. You can wait till like 7.
of course,
You can. It's actually was a lot of it's just they don't understand that it was the culture of that time. Because you have to understand, let me give you the story, Gracie. They used to kill their daughters. The Arabs had a tradition. It's in the Quran. It's called Wa'dul Banat. They used to kill their daughters. The Quranic verse says, and when you meet your Lord and he asks you, for what reason did you murder your daughter? And that's the actual verse in the Quran. So like to show the irrelevance of why they used to kill their daughters and why they used to do it was for tradition. And like I was arguing, because it was a very difficult lifestyle. If you left for to go for a trip to Damascus, which took you 6 months to a year on a camel, you can't take your daughter; she would die on that trip. You can't leave her because it was actually a very tough trip, a very easy trip to take. You can't leave her there because then she might get R-worded by somebody, and now you have an extra baby to feed, and having an extra baby to feed back then is like death to you. Now you have to take an extra trip per year, and
I don't have any problem with any of this. I don't know how true it is, but no problem here so far in terms of disrespectfulness.
impossible. You know what I mean? Now you have to
so
take an
you're
extra.
saying in many ways, marrying your daughter off early made sense in the culture for her.
It saved the women. It saved the
and everything
girls. They used to be killed at a young age. They used to be murdered. That was the actual tradition. And now they're saved. Now what they do is they marry them early. And what you see, it was perfect. At that time, the age expectancy was very short. Now they get to live
Also, not to get too into this, but I do know that the marriage took place at 6 and the consummation was at 9, which of course is the problem. But like, I think the idea is like that the groom is invested in her at age 6. So more than the father is, or the parents are. So it's safer for her, be the idea.
comfortable life with the protection of their husbands. The husbands used to die very young age, so they would get married early again because they were so young still.
Because I'm saying, why would someone have a marriage, which means have them in their household and pay for them and all that stuff, 3 years before they consummate the marriage? That's an unusual relationship. It does seem kind of like feminist, granting, like if it was just at an older age, it's weird to say like, you get to live here and be under my protection, which really mattered then, for 3 years before you got to give it up. So
now they have. It's made so much sense actually to marry them early because it removed a lot of the stress from the family, and it also allowed the benefits for the family to get. They wanted the kids early because the very low very low child life expectancy. You know what I mean? Stuff like that.
Different cultures, like you know what a dowry is?
Yeah. This is why
European
actually
thing.
the U.S. system is, in my opinion, sexist. Bigoted in terms of religion, the legal system, because we have to pay dowry and then we have to pay child support, whereas they only have to pay child support. I know what you mean. Dowry is paying for your wife.
Dowry is paying for your wife, but it can go the other way too, right?
No.
In
This
some
is a Christian
cultures-
belief. This is a Christian belief only. No, we don't have that.
No, I'm not talking about a Muslim thing. I'm just saying in some cultures, I believe it can go the other way, and it's called the bride price, right?
No, you're not. Because you have the level, because God puts the protection onus upon you. You have a level above her.
he doesn't, No big deal, but he just doesn't understand the question I'm asking here. I'm saying, are there cultures in which instead of the groom paying, that the bride's family pays? I don't know the answer to that, but he's saying, he's thinking I'm saying, does Islam allow that? When I clearly clarified it, but whatever.
The woman in terms of producing and providing, and that's the only level you get above her. So that means you have authority over her. So that means you get, for example, 4 wives instead of her getting 4 husbands.
But you're telling me about Sharia law. I'm just saying in cultures in general, there can be different.
Sure, but that's not applicable to Islamic culture, and we believe that's the truth. So we would believe they derived it, and they were mistaken in deriving it. Let me give you an example. Everything that agrees with Islam, we agree with, but only because it agrees with Islam. Do you understand?
Wait, what was the last part of it?
Everything that agrees with Islam, we agree with it, but only because it agrees with Islam. That means if it doesn't agree with Islam, we don't agree with it. That means, you understand what I'm saying? That means you could derive things. You could.
I mean, this is the problem with, actually, it's not just Islam, but Islamic probably are the worst at this. Like, Protestants are the same, Orthodox are the same. What is the point of talking to someone who doesn't agree with you if your only argument is going to be that my religion teaches this? Then you have to, of course, appeal to reason to say my religion is right to teach this, and you can see that. Otherwise, why have a conversation? Why not just shout, Islam is right, Islam is right? That's my argument. Or just say nothing at all. Doesn't even make any sense. You have to find common ground in order to talk to non-Muslims. Otherwise, you just talk to Muslims, I guess. But even there, if someone's like, I'm not into Islam, I was raised Islam, I don't believe it, you can't just say, like, well, Islam is right. You know, this is irrational.
Be mistaken.
Right. Yes.
You can be mistaken in deriving things, and that's fine. But the Islam is the perfect preserved scripture that preserves everything. So we believe everything is on purpose there. Whereas in other cultures, by mistake, you might.
You said what WTF even is Islam? I don't. I didn't. I couldn't get this from him, but I don't think the idea is that the Quran was written by the Prophet Muhammad. I think the idea is, I never got this right, but like that the Quran was written by people who heard the Prophet Muhammad say things that an angel had told him. In Arabic. So I think that's the idea. It's not quite like, the Mormon thing is like there were golden tablets which were written by the angel whatever, and then he just transcribed those. I don't know if they're written in. They were like Egyptian hieroglyphics or something, and then he decoded them and then wrote the Book of Mormon in English. That's the idea. That's the most kind of direct thing. Islam is very, very high on that level. Christians and the Christian view of the inspiration of Scripture is much less like the Holy Spirit spoke to the writers and protected them from error in areas of faith and morals or areas regarding our salvation, but they were people who could have made mistakes in other areas, and also that the languages were not somewhat arbitrary. Like Hebrew and Greek are not the languages of God. They're just the languages he chose.
Might find, this is the right way to go to the bathroom. Whereas in Quran, on purpose, like through the teachings of Prophet Muhammad, you know how to go to the bathroom.
Yes, Manar, but some things are not in the Quran.
I don't think most
How do we discover those?
I don't think most Muslims would say like that's one of the glories of the Quran is it teaches you how to like wipe your asshole. I don't think so.
Perfect.
We use
just like we did with Jesus.
Philosophy, right?
Talking shit.
We
Well,
use like thinking, reason.
Very funny.
what do you mean by that? But you could be wrong in that, though.
I mean, like that sentence that I just said is not found in the Quran, right? But we use common sense, and it can be based on guidance in the Quran or in our case, the Holy Scriptures, which I know that you think differently of. Okay, but you're not. If here's the problem. It's a problem for all people, all religions.
This is
You have to
unbelievable. I can't
interpret
believe
the
I'm having
Quran.
this debate right now.
Yeah.
First of all, I can't.
So then now he's doing this thing also the second time. It's like this is not a big deal, but like I'm talking instead of listening and being respectful. He's starting to talk to his chat, and he knows that I can see him doing this. He should have at least explained what he was doing or taken a break. But this isn't like a huge deal.
I can't believe I'm having this debate. This is amazing. Thank you so much, guys, for coming on.
Oh no, he did this actually openly. So this is like totally fine. He's just saying like I'm gushing.
Are you guys live right now?
Yeah,
Yes.
Sweet, man. You guys are great. Great together. I mean, I don't know why Ava talks so much shit. I would love to learn a little bit more about the
She's
history.
evil. She's evil.
But look, she allows you guys to come on, though. That has to account for something.
She's well, I mean, does a whore, if
Do you wanna go?
someone
Do you wanna-
Sure.
comes there
No
and
problem.
yells at
I
her
got
and
it.
gets more business, and
So you're
her
just gonna
business
go
is better
on.
for it,
Yeah.
that's
okay.
she's
Yeah.
still a whore? Yeah.
So I need to know that she actually did a porno.
any idea how far away?
Ava, no.
Okay.
Yes, we are about,
So about a
30
half-
minutes.
half
30
hour
minutes
away.
away.
Okay.
Yeah.
So maybe you can interact with chat or well, I don't know.
Yeah, sure. Okay, we're supposed to switch. So that's at 102. We're supposed to switch. They already talked about the dowry. We're supposed to switch this to this VOD because it has better audio.
Wife.
Dowry's paying for your right, but what? We use
Perfect.
We
Just
use
like we did with
philosophy,
Jesus.
right? We use philosophy. I don't want to get into that. I find that extremely boring.
Oh, Lord. Well, where are they at? What did they just talk about?
This is better for it. This comes there and yells at her and gets more business, and her business is better for it. Is she still a whore? Yeah.
I need to know that she actually did a porno.
Talking about Ava. Thank you, Rini.
But what I'm saying is, no matter what, I don't have the.
If she perceives in any way that she's this is immoral to her, that she's gonna go on. It's a woman that hate God because of life. So for example, the Quran but it's not.
Oh,
Here's one thing. He says, here's the thing. Why we can't accept
I'm
the
sorry. I hate switching around.
Christians. You know you can trust what your prophet did, and you can
Help us, like say Europeans, to understand what.
almost
Yes.
like Spain.
Wait, I can figure it out. This person joined and then left. Okay, so when does... Okay, so this person joined... Wait. This person joins...
Okay. Yeah. I think
Oh my god, I hate Kick! The last thing I heard was Beans call her a scum-sucking road whore who ruined his life, and Manar said she lets you come on. Oh, where are we? Shit. Maybe I'll go back.
can be based on guidance in the Quran or the reason. Some people.
So she's also attacking you. So when she
Yes, we
attacks
have a lot in
Islam, she's
common. Yeah,
attacking
we have
you
a lot
as
in
well.
common.
Yeah, so I don't like to go against Christian, but
Yeah.
this is why I think it's important to go against it, because this is the second part of the elevated of the conversation.
Did we already hear this part? You know what? I'm not gonna lie. It doesn't really matter until we get to... Oh, shit, but then I can't... You know what? We're just gonna watch his video. It's not possible to switch between them. It's too confusing.
Ava, no.
No,
Okay.
that was Ruby.
Ruby. that's
Okay, Ruby. Yeah, she was mad that I had bigger ass than her. She was so mad. Did you guys see that? Yeah. Okay. So let's get back to this. So, like, are you trying to say we don't need scripture necessarily?
Here's what I'm saying. And we're talking about different scriptures, but I know that Muslims have respect for the Old and New Testaments, although you have this thing about is it the real text or whatever. I don't want to get into that. I find that extremely
they're
boring.
Christians. Alpha, they're Christian.
But what I'm saying is, no matter what your text is, you have to
What up,
interpret
Pocket?
the text. And in Islam, as far as I know, there are Shiite
Echo.
interpretations, Sunni interpretations.
I'll fix it.
What's the other one?
I'll fix it.
The more
I'm gonna fix it, guys. Shia. There's Shia. Oh, there's Alawite. There's Durzi. They're weird. There's a lot of them. But Alawite would be the Syrian.
I don't know. It's a famous one in the West.
All right, guys, we fixed it.
Islam. Whatever. Okay. So if you say Sufi.
So Sufi is part of Sunnism. It's part of Sunnism.
Sufis. Okay, but it's more of a mystical.
It's not mystical. It's more orthodox.
Sufis. Okay. There are some Sufis that I think
Why is
are
this not working?
like less. I don't have the.
Muslim audio work. Muslim streaming technology. It's tough.
Okay, so no matter what, you're going to have to interpret the text. And then the question is, who can authoritatively interpret the text, correct? Like, I know, for example, one word that's highly misused in the West is the word jihad, which does mean struggle, but it primarily refers to an internal
How is this
struggle.
happening?
It can be used to talk about an external struggle. Like, we would use the term crusades. Like, so...
But
I don't know why
jihad
this
is
happened.
primarily an internal struggle, right? But some people emphasize external. Some people. So who is right? And that is, I think, the problem of all religions. Who's right? Who is the correct interpreter? And I don't know
I
what
agree.
the answer is.
I agree, and it's a very difficult question, but that's the right question to ask. Let me give you an example, Gracie. That's when we actually elevate the conversation. So here's the example
Welcome
with
back.
the atheist.
His
This is the
name,
problem.
his name is Ben. My name is
Oh,
Ben.
you're great. I thought it was the last name was the Gracie. You're the Thorpes. I forget. It was the
I thought you
Thorpes.
were just trying to. I
I'm
just thought you were just
Gracie.
trying to.
No.
Apparently, there's a clip of Manar going around where he rubs and digs in his butt and then smells his fingers afterwards. If anybody has that clip, feel free to link it in the
Well, maybe he's showing the superiority of Islamic hygiene. The Prophet also showed us how to do that. I doubt it. But
chat. It's my clip.
another one of the glories of Islam.
Send it over, ZXV.
Talking to Ben. Ben. So here's the thing, Ben. We actually see. This is the thing. This is why I don't.
And
like
also
to
in an
argue
honor
against
culture,
Christians
you would
because
never.
I love-
He knows you would never call older man by his first name. You know what I mean? He's kind of Mr. Thorpe or something like that.
Yeah.
And I don't care. He's an American kid. It's fine.
Yeah.
You know, but if someone's much older than you, you're talking with him with his daughter, you would generally not do that. But it's fine. That's like American culture, fine.
Yeah.
But this whole idea that he's also a member of this extreme non-existent honor culture in which you can't, in which banter is totally forbidden and which doesn't exist anywhere, and maybe which would say you shouldn't go on the internet.
Yeah.
It just doesn't even make any sense. And talk with infidels or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think that exists anywhere. I'm sure Osama bin Laden and the boys busted balls hey, dude,
Yeah.
stop being such a camel fucking loser and get
Yeah.
up and make some more bombs. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to watch this 55-second clip? Scratches
Sneak
and
sniffs
sniffs
his-
his anus.
Yeah,
The new
interesting.
OPC.
Quickly, then we'll go back. Yeah.
Good clickbait.
The feminism movement didn't unite women, it split women. In many ways, the second wave of feminism, women were historically, for millennium, the caretakers of a community, the community leaders. They would check on the elderly, they would feed the poor, they would take care of the children, right? So what happened is that we took them out of their caretaking roles, and it was like taking a keystone species out of the environment. Much of the environment degraded and shriveled up. That's why we're seeing 50%.
Oh my God.
That's tough.
That was a
I
scratch
could
and
see.
sniff.
I could see talking with not so erudite where you'd say this is soul killing and smelling my ass crack juices is necessary as distraction or how should I say kind of an Epsom salt, a kind of keeping me awake. It's the best I can do. Digging for
That's
gold.
brutal. I thought it was clickbait. Did Muhammad teach you how to do that? Brutal.
Oh, hey, Rini says play the rest.
Play the rest? Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
I was seeing
sorry, I switched.
such a rise in mental illness. Women aren't going to check on their neighbors anymore. They're not feeding the poor at their local church. They're really preoccupied with making money and materialism and the GDP and
Bro,
a
Overload
world
found
in
another
which
account.
they are
What a
no
bunch of
longer
losers.
caretakers.
Oh, that wasn't not Sarah Udite. It was
Somebody else.
someone just sounds just
They're
like her.
caretaking.
I mean,
Grace, all right, let's go back.
That's
okay,
deliberate.
okay. Anyone can.
okay. He did sniff it again, Rainey.
Christians, you're my only people that I can trust. You're the only people that I can trust against the atheists. The atheist wants me and you to be removed. Like, well, if you hear Eva, she's talking, I hate Islam. But then when she says why she hates Islam, because it's so derogatory to women, blah, blah, blah. That means if she perceives Christianity to be in any way derogatory, and I proved that she doesn't know what morality is.
You know, there's
so if she
can I
perceives
tell you
in any
there's
way
this
that
funny
she's-
story. It's weird. Is when I was like researching the Irish Christian Brothers at the school I was teaching at, because you just kind of assume whatever these guys are these guys. It's at this school, but they have many other places, right? Mm-hmm. Usually an order is not just one school. It's
Yeah.
like, so they had another school, and then there was this. I know I've told you this story before. There was this website at which this former student at an Irish Christian Brothers school had, was kind of like trying to say like Survivors Network and let's come together, which I think is laudable because the Irish Christian Brothers were, and they were later. There's a report in Ireland about them that's like holy shit! Like of
Jaw-dropping.
all the stuff in the entire world, with the scandal is like the bottom of the barrel. Like they're banned from whole countries. I believe Canada is an Irish. I don't know. And if you're an Irish, I don't even know if you can set foot in the country. But you cannot like operate a school there, and that's not like a crazy take because of the report, which I haven't read. But anyways, so this school was an American school, and this kid was saying that this particular brother used to go around to the kids who were like 15 or 16, and he would like he was kind of I don't know what a weirdo. And he would like kind of go and reach down and put his finger in the kid's ass crack, like kind of in front of everyone, and then go up to the front of the room and go like, so, and he was like, so this kid was saying that was really traumatic for us. And afterwards, like, we didn't know what to do. We were like, but it's kind of ridiculous, right? It's like a
Yeah.
ridiculous. It's a weird kind of. I get it that it is a way of like owning the kids, but like, I just feel like
I get
wouldn't
how
the
it's a
kids be like,
humiliation
"What the fuck's
thing."
with that dude?" Like, it's not really a flex, like to be like, "Yeah, hey, I'm better than you. I put my finger down your ass crack and then went up and smelled it." You know what I mean? It's kind of like.
no, yeah.
Kind of like, and he's like, "Yeah, what you gonna do about it?" And it's like, tell my parents,
Yeah, why
right? Or
didn't-
just like openly make fun of you about it and have it be like you're the ass crack sniffer, and kind of like make fun of the kid. Also, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like to be like, and I held that deep down somewhere for 20 years, and now I'm saying it. It's like. Like what's wrong with you guys? It's like
Yeah.
the Irish Christian Brothers, but also like you guys too. Like what the fuck? What's wrong with you that you couldn't tell
Really
your
weird.
parents? And I was afraid to tell my parents because whatever. It's like the whole culture here is crazy.
Yeah.
It's where it's like
Juno says you should do that to Lalo, Ben. That is.
I do understand
sexual
it's like a
assault,
form
yeah.
of ritual humiliation. I mean,
Right.
Cooley did that again. Irishman did that to you in a way
Shut
that
up,
he could
Mark.
get away with it.
Yeah.
And then you tell me about it later, but like, how's that a flex for him? You're just like a fucking asshole. And like, I'm sorry, that's not a hetero move.
No.
It's just crazy.
Yeah.
And you're lucky, that we gave you a ride home. If I had known about that, I would have just said, fuck that dude. you
Yeah,
know?
but it wasn't like I was secretly saying like, okay, I'm gonna hold on to this for years. I told you pretty quick.
Yeah,
I
it's not-
just
right. And if I had been like, young lady, how did you slut yourself that way? You know, it'd be crazy that you would imagine that I would be mad at you. It's like,
yeah,
it's something wrong with people that is their, like, this is like this is the Irish. This is when you get behind the curtain and you realize like, it ain't like other people who look
Yeah.
like, might look in some ways like us. It's like, this is fucked up.
Yeah.
And ludicrous. I'm sorry, it's ludicrous.
it's also ludicrous.
If the guy's like, yeah, and then he sniffed his butt crack and sniffed his finger from the butt crack dip, and my heart sank, and I've been holding on to that for 20 years. It's like, wouldn't you as a judge be like, okay, buddy.
Really? Damien's
I
gifted
mean-
2 subs.
I mean, isn't that the quintessential like
Genius.
16-year-old boy? Like my teacher's at EFSLR and weirdo, and it's funny. Like, how do you guys not? You don't need.
How
to
does
go
it
to your
become a
parents.
trauma?
You just say this guy, hey, why wouldn't you just troll him constantly, going like, hey, buddy, I got a question. You know what I mean? Like,
I guess when
you
they
don't have enough. It's a bunch of boys, right?
Right.
Why wouldn't you just
You guys
say
can't
like,
all
he's
agree,
the butt
like-
sniffer?
Yeah.
Hey, you going to Professor Butt Sniffer's class in a way that he kind of hears it, right?
Right.
And he goes, "Get over here! How dare you!" And you're like, "What?" You know what I mean? And
Right,
you're like,
right.
I could never say. You know what I mean? And you just razz the kid to say like, how'd it feel? Did he was he gentle? Was he? And the kid's like, but they have to even be natural to process something like that.
Right.
I don't get the scenario in
Did
which
they-
you're like, we were all petrified, and then that kid killed himself. It's like,
They didn't talk about it with their friends. Like,
I guess not. And he was trying to bring these guys out, and you could say there were other guys who were like, yeah, I was there. It was unbelievable. But I mean, it's more than just that, because that's ludicrous in and of itself.
yeah,
It's ludicrous.
it is ludicrous.
It's not. It's just like you're at a state at that point of dysfunctionality. But you're saying we were victims, and I'm not saying that's not true. But like, you'd also have to say there's something about us Irish that's so off that it might seem ludicrous. You got to be self-aware, because that just doesn't read well for normal people
Yeah.
to say like that's what happened. I mean, I said like my gay theater teacher like pinched my butt when I walked by him, and then asked me out for lunch when I graduated. It's not like I'm like, that was so disturbed. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
who cares? I knew there were gay people. I knew he was probably gay. I knew that if I went out with him, it was not just being friends, but he probably wouldn't have done anything. But, like he was kind of obviously timing it so that like he's not going to get fired, right? And we can have gay butt sex. And he wasn't
Yeah.
saying let's have gay butt sex, but I was just like, yeah, lunch seems weird. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but if you had said something more dude-ish, like, I don't know, you want to, you should come by the school sometime. I can help you write an essay or something. Like, I might have done it. Or, you know what I mean? Like, he's just saying, if you're gay, let's have a gay lunch, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah.
My thing is like, hey, I kind of liked you as a teacher, but like, you know what I mean? And I didn't have a close relationship with my father. In many ways, I was looking for a father figure, but it's like, thank you, but whatever. I'm not gonna. I just wouldn't. You know what I mean? It would be kind of on me if the lunch seemed kind of gay, and then I was like, because why
Traumatized.
would a teacher be asking you out to lunch? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, if you were
if he
really
said
friends.
if he said you should come by the school sometime and say hi, stop by, let me know how you're doing. I really think you're a special person. Okay, that's fine. I would have, and I did stop by the school a few times. You go back to the old school, say hi to the old teachers. He would have been someone like that, or if you said if you ever need anything, let me know. If you need a recommendation or whatever, you know what I mean, like. But I kind of knew he was gay.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't know that he was gay, but like,
You got the vibe.
yeah, you get your ass pinched, and yeah, in some ways, I think he thought like, You know, it's kind of affirming. I don't know.
It's a compliment.
Yeah.
You don't have to take him up on it, but it's a compliment.
Yeah. He wasn't married, you know. He was the drama teacher. And he was always saying, you should do drama. You'd be great at drama. You should be in the drama club with the other F slurs, you know. And I was like, it just feels kind of gay. But I liked him. But
Yeah.
I also didn't want to be like, I'm in the drama club. I'm playing a play. Although he did start Deborah Messing's career out. Interesting.
Who's that?
Factoid. Deborah Messing was Grace on Will and Grace.
Oh.
A rabid Zionist.
Deborah Messing. Oh.
Yeah. She's a pretty big actress. And I'm sure she would say, yeah, oh, yeah, Mr. Metcalf, yeah. Again, Irish.
Somebody wanted to know if you ever said anything to Cooley. He didn't finger my butthole and sniff it.
Not the whole.
No.
You got
it was
upper crack?
Yeah. It's a long story. My dad was going out on a Tinder date, and me and Craig Cooley decided to pretend to be dating so that we would have a group date.
So it would feel
so
less
it'd feel
weird.
less weird. Like I'm
Like
just
a
here with
double
my
date.
daughter and
Yeah.
my friend. Like a double date, yeah. So we're in the back of the RV, and me and Craig are pretending to be dating. And he's trolling this woman like, you know, I taught her in high school, and then I realized, whatever. So I'm like, okay, we're just joking around.
He's doing antics, Irishman antics. It's funny, but it's a little bit like kind of insidious, but whatever.
Yeah. So anyways, and then he started being touchy, but like privately, like as if we were actually dating. And eventually,
What I saw and my date saw was fine, you know.
yeah,
But then
right.
like he's sneaking.
He was sneaking like gropes kind of, and then he snuck his hand down my pants.
And you
kind of,
didn't want to
like-
say, what the fuck is wrong with you? Because it would have, he was using the fact that there was an awkward situation to have you do that.
Yeah.
And then you took him out to a Mexican place. And I can't believe you didn't just
drive
ditch
off.
him there. I just like.
I wasn't sure how to process it. I didn't
Yeah.
know if it was that big of a deal, and I didn't tell
Well,
you.
yeah, in some ways it's not that
I
big
didn't
of a
feel
deal,
like
but
unsafe, like he was going to do anything.
it's so crazy though. It's just
It
like
was
that. He
awful,
wanted
yeah.
to get ditched there.
Yeah, it
And
was
that's
awful.
the kind of guy he is.
But I didn't tell my dad at the time because I didn't want my dad to feel like he had to be like, how dare you? Like, I just
Right.
wasn't up for it. And
Yeah.
like, I didn't feel unsafe. So I was just like, okay, this guy did something shitty. Then I told him after we dropped Craig off. And then I exposed him on YouTube and he watched it. And that's the end of that
We
relationship.
haven't heard from him since. Hey, it's not that big of a deal, but
He had
it's
no
like,
respect for Ben. I mean, in retrospect, like his pride and place, this guy Craig, was to sleep with his employer's daughters or his
Yeah,
friend's
he had
daughters.
sex with
So,
the vice principal's daughter.
yeah,
He was it's a certain kink, I guess, is to like
never again, Virgil.
try to is to try to cuck a guy by like getting with his daughter. He had a thing with like his best friend. He got with his sister. It's a weird kind of insecurity thing.
Yeah. Never understood why any of those women slept with him, though. I mean, he was like a 3 or a 4, like gross, bad teeth, skinny, Irish. Ginger.
I mean, the claim on that, from what I heard with the vice principal's daughter, who I didn't know, I wasn't teaching there at the time, is that she was like shit-faced drunk. She claimed that maybe she got drugged and she went home with him after a long night of drinking, and she simultaneously vomited and shitted all over the bathroom, got cleaned up, and then allowed him to have sex with her. So whether she was like, you know, that to me is like, okay, good night. But he's like, well,
I'm going to get something out of it.
yeah,
Kind of rapey. His whole vibe was kind of
it's
rapey.
not really good.
Yeah. You guys need to meet proudly radical Manar.
And I
hates
don't
this
even know.
guy
I
a
never
lot.
talked with her. I don't even know if any of that stuff is true, like any of it.
Yeah.
But he was like, dude, you got to help me out. I might have a legal issue here. And I was like, Yeah, that's why we don't, like, you really shouldn't do this kind of stuff. You know? It's like, dude, great story. You won't believe what happened. She's accused me of fucking drugging her, you know? And I was like, well, it's probably not. You probably won't come to anything,
Yeah.
but I get it because she woke up next to you and said, well, I must have been on drugs. Done anything with this guy.
Yeah.
So, like,
Yeah.
he knows that too, right? 'Cause
Most.
apparently she's not like the doggiest dog in the world.
Yeah. Let's continue.
This is immoral to her that she's gonna go on the attack against you. So she's also attacking you. So when she attacks Islam, she's attacking you as well.
Yeah, we have a lot in common.
Yeah, so I don't like to go against Christian, but this is why I think it's important to go against them, because this is the second part of the elevated of the conversation. The first part is there even a God? These atheists, they don't even know if there's a God. You have to prove to them scientifically, for example.
Oh, they know there's a God. They hate God.
Women hate God. I actually figured it out. It's women that hate God because they believe that in religion diminishes women's powers. They actually look into it. Ask Eva.
Oh, well, do you know where Ava's name comes from?
Eva.
Eve.
Eve.
The first
Okay.
Adam and Eve, right? The first evil woman who disobeyed God. I think Muslims recognize that as a creation story, all right? Adam and Eve.
Yeah, but you guys believe it as the original sin. We believe it as the natural reoccurrence of life. So, for example, he puts them in the garden. He tells them don't do it. The serpent lies to them, but then that's it. They asked for forgiveness. They were forgiven, and then they were put down to earth because that was their job. The reason that Satan hates them was because God said that you are going to be the conqueror of earth. Oh,
See, these, like, you could call this like Muslim revisionism, right? So they're familiar with the Old Testament. They're familiar with the New Testament, but they have a different take on it. And their different take, I don't know where it comes from. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So they're like, I believe their take on Isaac and Ishmael, who are the sons of Abraham, is that Ishmael was the father of the Arabs, which you could read that in the scriptures, because those two people go on to have enmity with each other, the Jews. But they read it that Ishmael was this true inheritor of the promise. Whereas in the actual text, Ishmael just kind of wanders off, and he's this kind of interesting figure. It's not his fault, but, you know, his mother was the concubine. Abraham lost faith in God, got with his concubine, and had a child because he kind of was like, well, my wife's too old, and God must have meant, let's do this, you know? And that's actually kind of an interesting analogy for Zionism, because, like, the Zionists got sick of waiting for the Messiah, right? So they just were like, oh, let's do a secular version of it. And yeah, there's no one coming around, right? But then the entire rest of the narrative is all about Isaac, and then about Isaac's son Jacob, whose name is Israel, and his 12 sons. All right, so how do you say this is the good guy? He's clearly not the focus of the narrative, and they're not claiming there's an alternative version of Genesis that we have. If they had that, at least you could say, like, okay, we have the real Genesis. But it's a bizarre.
So
do you understand how it's weird?
So
It's like
they're just
you're reading. It's a little bit like Satanists. You can read Satan as the good guy, and Judas as the true hero of the crucifixion story. Do you know what I mean? Like that, you could have sympathy. You know this Rolling Stones song, "Sympathy for the Devil."
love that song.
It's a great song, yeah.
Don't forget my name. Hoo-hoo.
You can kind of see the devil as a tragic figure, because if you see him as a person, right? Okay, so that's interesting. Yeah, I don't know much about it, but they also believe Abraham helped Ishmael build the Kaaba,
Which
right?
is the cube, right?
The cube, yeah. And I mean, of course, there's no evidence for that within the scriptures. I think they would admit that. But they maybe would say, well, that's because you guys have cleaned it up. But like, in order to say that, you'd think you'd have to have some original. You can't just say, I know what the original is when there's no evidence for it.
Can I give an analogy? It's kind of like if you told me a story about your parents.
Yeah.
And then I said, okay, actually, what happened was different than what you said. Actually, based on no evidence. I just said, like, you said your mother cheated on your dad.
Well,
and I
no,
said,
well,
actually,
you
your dad
can't-
cheated on your mom.
You know, it is interesting. It is interesting like that. Like, because my mother said that her father, and you know, she would tell it to different extents because she wanted to seem like a victim. Beat his kids as infants when they cried. Beat them violently as infants when they cried. And did sexual weird stuff like when they were like 2 to his daughters. Okay. Which is very extreme behavior.
Yeah.
For educated European Christian man. It's very extreme behavior. Even today, I mean, in any kind of like that's very extreme behavior.
Even within pedophilia, the father-child
2
thing is
years old?
extremely rare.
Right. I mean, I thought it was a joke when I was like, yeah, I like them. I like to get them young. I like the babies, right? I just assumed like there are no men who would molest a baby because babies are so out of it, right? And apparently there are, but like I just don't think it really happens much. Well, whatever. But it's true that like I kind of felt like, but then she would give me clues like that her brother said none of this ever happened. He was older. And then that her like aunts told her, my aunts told her this because they'd had therapy in the 70s where they remembered these things. And then she would contradict the story. And then it later came out that all this came from her mother, kind of insinuating this kind of stuff. So you can piece something together from a story that's incoherent. You can try to piece together
The real narrative.
Yeah. Because then I would say to her, you said this about your father. Because, you know, she thought she could just get away with whatever. Because she had all the data, right? I don't talk to any of those people. I've almost never in my whole life had any interaction with any of those people. So I can't verify it, right? But when you get a little older, it's kind of like, okay, so you're saying that my grandfather was like a violent rapist of babies? You know?
Right.
And then she would say, no, I didn't say that. I never said that. And I was like, well, where do you think I got it from? She was
Right.
like, I don't know. You know, but I never said that about my father. And it's like, yes, you did. Right? Okay, but anyway, that's a separate issue. But like, you can see an incoherent story and say, I can guess that, like, this can't be. Right? But I don't see how that would be true of the Old Testament. I don't see... It would have to seem incoherent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think what happened was Muslims were Arabs. Arabs did not see themselves as the Jews, right? They weren't the Jews.
Yeah.
So then they read back into something where it's like, okay, we're the children of Ishmael, which I think probably Jews would have been like, okay, yeah, that we kind of maybe can see that, right? Just like they have Shem, Ham, and Japheth, you know, like the three, you could say like, okay, well, that's blacks, Asians, and Europeans.
Yeah.
You read that in, it's not really there, but you could see if those are the only 3 dudes left, and there's kind of broadly 3 races. But it's kind of it's weird because then the Bible really wasn't written for you. You're a side character. Like Arabs are kind of a side character, and then what's their relationship with the Jews? It becomes very complicated.
So they wanted to change
To kind
the
of read
story
yourself into it
to make themselves the main character.
when you're clearly not the main character. But and there's no like the annals of Ishmael. There is none. There's no like, and then Ishmael begat this, and then da 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 da. I don't think it's just gone, you know. But you can read like that's not really fair to the devil because he can never, because he's an angel, can never change, and therefore he's condemned, and nothing he does can ever get him back into the graces of God. And you could see that as like, you could have sympathy because he in some ways exists in time, and yet he can never change. So he just rails against God at his punishment, which was just. And the devil is the one creature you cannot pray for. You can't pray for a fallen angel, not because God's a meanie. It's because the nature of angels is they're simultaneous. They don't exist in time where they can change. So, at their creation,
And how could he have rebelled?
hold on a minute. They definitively, they do have morality, but they either good or evil right from the
I
start.
see. Okay,
They exercise that right from the start. But for them, it's not the start. You see what I'm saying? Because it's hard. This is hard to understand. How can you be a creature who's not really in time but interacts with time? That's different than us. We get old, whatever.
Yeah.
But like, that's why. But because we're spirit in the afterlife, we won't also experience time. We have that facility, but we don't have it yet. So that you won't be like, heaven is great, but it's been 3,000 zillion years. I mean, right? So that's a common critique of the theory of heaven, is that we get boring, so, but we would say like, no. Time is going to be different. So you experience everything at the same time, kind of.
I can't really imagine that, but yeah.
Well, eternity is more like a circle than an endless line. Do you understand that?
Yeah, I can
Does that make any
visualize
sense?
that.
So we can experience it in what are called like whatever I don't know what they're called. Flow state moments. Okay, so we kind of experience timelessness within time.
Yeah.
People say time stood still or that kind of thing. That is kind of very close, like especially spiritual experiences. You can kind of, I think that's a little bit of a taste of the afterlife, where you don't get the sense like,
Right.
but it's kind of
right.
profound, but in a short period of time, whether good or bad. But largely, we tend to think of Satan. Now, Judas also, you could say. And I think your mother is basically, her theology is that Judas is the good guy because, he suffered and made. It's a greater suffering to fail than it is to experience pain and succeed, as our Lord did, right? So that's the whole 3-day weekend thing, and he knew he was going to. But Judas is the one who is the true baller because he failed. He didn't get any consolation. That's real
Suffering,
which is true, but that's meaning like maximal suffering. Yeah, I mean, to betray God himself in that way, who could imagine the suffering when you realize what you've done? But, we don't even say Judas is in hell, but we certainly would never canonize Judas. But your mother, I think, wanted. Remember, I said that she thought she belonged on the crucifix because she's, her life is completely stupid and idiotic.
Yeah.
And she thought that qualified her to replace the corpus with herself, and your brother John also.
Two geniuses.
Yeah, we need a double crucifix with those two. Yeah, it's out there.
Over Satan. So that's the reason Satan hates them in the beginning. So that was their original job in the beginning, was to come to earth. So whereas you guys believe it was an original sin, and that's why they were dropped down to earth.
Come to earth from where?
Because God put God when God in the Quran when He said I created Adam in order to be Khalifa al ard, Khalifa on the earth. That means the ruler of all of mankind, or no, ruler of earth. So that means He's gonna conquer and domesticate the earth, which had animals, beasts.
Just to recap for everybody, we are going through our first ever interaction with Manar to find
Figure
who
out where it
disrespected
went
who
wrong.
first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And whereas Satan, we believe jinns also live in this earth, and he was the one that domesticated the earth. He had the power to domesticate all of earth, but he wanted that domain and dominion, but God took it away from him. So we believe that's where he started to go anti-Adam. But it's not that there was an original
Hey, you
sin. That's
pause
why
for a
we
second.
brought down. It was
Peaksy says, drop down to earth. The Garden of Eden was in space. Actually, there is an interesting problem there that the Garden of Eden clearly couldn't have been in a geographical location, that we could kind of uncover. It was a different whole vibe there.
Why? Why can't it be geographical?
Well, because if the Garden of Eden, there was no pain and suffering, and then man was banished from it, and 80-eyed angels with swords, clearly that's kind of saying you were banished from this state, right? And also, if the Garden of Eden took place in time, right? So then you had dinosaurs. Why would the dinosaurs have been? Because they're clearly fallen, where they're killing each other and all that kind of stuff. So
that's true.
And then there's the Garden of Eden. All of a sudden, all the animals were just chill and no one's eating. I mean, clearly, animals who how do you have carnivores that don't eat meat?
I don't
can't
know.
really, right? You can't just give a cougar oatmeal.
No.
So it's more to say it's a state, but they say drop down. It's clearly a state, and that also would be the problem. Is where are Jesus and Mary right now? Mm-hmm. Because they're not.
They have their bodies.
Yeah, they're physical. Where are they? Are they on the other side of the moon? Are they on a planet we haven't found yet? No, they're in a different state. So for example, I'm not trying to be funny, but one of the great feasts of the church is the Feast of the Ascension, when our Lord, after rising from the dead, ascended to heaven. Okay, and so there's always kind of I think it's funny because the sandals and things, it's kind of an upskirt moment where you're okay. But did he just keep going up into the atmosphere, and then people are bro, I could see a speck, one of those balloons or something like that, and then he just keeps going up into outer space, and then he's past the moon, and where does he land, right? It's clearly the idea of the ascension is a spiritual one, but he transformed, and we don't that. That's the question, where's the door to heaven? It's only known to those who are. So even though he was resurrected, there were things about his body that were weird, he ate fish, but he also walked through doors. So we're not given much information on that. But you got to think he's also not going to age and have pain and stuff. You know what I mean? And this realm doesn't really fit people with that in that state. What the realm he's in with Our Lady is, it can't be in our universe.
But it is.
There isn't
but it is
the
physical.
Vatican. If they had all the resources in the world, they wouldn't be okay, we got to find these. They're on some planet somewhere, just chilling, and they're oh, what's up? You know what I mean? Wouldn't make any sense.
But they are physically somewhere. Their bodies are somewhere.
But actually, I do believe you have a multiverse theory. There is a kind of another universe than this one. In which there's physicality, but not all the things in this universe. It's not compatible with this universe.
Yeah, I get that.
So, in many ways, the second coming will make this world, it will transform this world. And it's not just the people will get resurrected, the world itself will get resurrected.
Oh.
And then it'll be fundamentally different, though. It would be like kind of a different universe, but everything in it would. It's not just the people be taken out to like this other place. I think it's largely, you know what I mean? The animals, because the animals and plants will also be raised up. You know what I mean? So we tend to have this Greco thing of like the realm in the sky where the, you know, the glorified ones live on, chilled out on clouds with the harp and eating the grapes.
Yeah.
That's actually just completely from, it's fine as an image, you know, unless you take it seriously. Or literally.
Channel D gifted 5 subs.
Wow, thank you, Channel D.
Wow, thank you so much, Channel D.
And
Welcome back.
And vice versa.
Welcome back.
And concomitantly, the image of hell just being this like place where there's these guys. Again, this comes from like who's the lord of the underworld in Greco-Roman? The guy with
Hades?
the pitchfork. Yeah,
Hades.
Hades becomes Satan. He's running around with a pitchfork, like poking you, and you're in these boiling cauldrons, and everyone's like kind of screaming and yelling, and it's really hot. I mean, those are just images, you know, because yes, you'll have bodies, and so the bodies will suffer, but it's more the separation from goodness, right? So it's like that misery you feel when you've done something wrong, you knew you didn't have to, and you sort of, right, that without all of the consolations, right? So just like the experience of the deadness of evil, which is horrifying. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Your own, like staring in a mirror of your own failure all the time and knowing that. And the interesting thing about hell is I don't think anyone's going to complain about being in hell because they know they chose it. But they'll just be like, it's that feeling of like, I fucked up. I knew what I was. And we don't know if anyone's going to be there other than the devil. But like, it would be the feeling of saying like, you know, when you do something and you know you did it, and so you have no one else to blame but yourself.
It's awful.
So you don't feel like you can't really be mad at anyone. You kind of realize like, oh, that was stupid, which is how I may feel about the Manar thing. But I currently do not. Let's get back to it.
Do you mind if I go have a smoke?
No.
Thank you.
Was their original job was to come down.
Hey, Channel D, let me know if you want me to ban anybody else for 5 subs. I am broke.
But for example, because God doesn't say no, Adam got bored, and so he asked for Eve, and that's the story of Eve.
you.
So God
It's
just
not
doesn't say
really
no. For
the
example,
story
why
of
does Satan live for all of humanity to hurt mankind? It's because he asked God to do so. Like when God asked him in the Quran to bow, for all of angels to bow down, and when he says all of the angels, it shows you that Satan's level was at high as the angels, and in the verse it says all of the angels bowed except Satan. He never bowed. That means he was at the level of the angels, how strong he was. So he believed he was extremely big. But what happened was he was disgraced by this Adam. He's like, and then there was a conversation between Satan and God. It says, you created me from fire. You created him from mud. You want me to bow down to him? And then God says, you have disgraced what I've created. You're going against me. You will be sent to judge hell forever. You know, he says, that is fine, God, but can you give me one more thing? He says, can you leave me till the end of time so I can prove to you that this creation will disgrace you? That was the promise. That was Satan's promise, is that I will forever try to get Adam to be disgraced, so to prove to God that he made the mistake by choosing him. And so the only reason Satan exists. So you guys understand it completely different, what I'm saying. Yeah.
Very similar. Maybe there's different terminology. I'm not saying there aren't real differences, but that's
Very similar to how Catholics would see it.
So here's the thing. Let me ask you, Thor. You recognize something. You even asked me, you said, how do we know if it's not in the scripture? That means there's an importance. That means there's certain things that were important in the world that were not given to us in scripture. You recognize that, right? It's impossible.
Also, how do you interpret the scripture?
Well,
So
no.
It's easy to say, I do what Islam says, but then you have to say, well, what does that mean?
No, what I mean is, for example, in the scripture, it doesn't teach you how to eat. In the scripture, it teaches you what inheritance is to every person. It is there. I think you guys have verses of inheritance, but it doesn't tell you.
Or Maxer, I really think you should get. Thank you so much for being here, by the way. I think you should consider talking with Manar. I think he is making the best case that Arabs are really should only be dealt with violence. I mean, he is. If Zionism is bad, I really, and I do think it is, then I can see how, if this is typical of how Arabs think, you could say it's worse. I really think he should go around, be paid by the IDF to continue acting like this, because if they want the West to hate Arabs and want to bomb them, like, they couldn't really do better than this guy. So Muslims, Arabs are loud and violent. Yeah. I don't know about the violence thing, but like, as far as the internet goes, he's really, really obnoxious. So he is nothing compared to the Arabs of the Middle East. Yeah, I can see. But I really think Zionists should just pivot to going like, look, I get you, except for these people. Like, they truly are horrendous. And you know, just, I actually don't really think Arabs are, but this guy's kind of showing me a side of them that's just horrible. Like, I get it. Nuke them. In the Old Testament, in the Quran.
Okay, but it doesn't. Does it tell you eat with your right hand and eat?
No.
It doesn't tell you do not eat the pork and do not eat because it does not cut the cud, and it does give you a lot of things, but there's other things that are missing. Like, do you wipe with your left or the right hand after you go to the bathroom? Does that say in the Quran? It doesn't say. So how do we know about this? You're right. That's where we follow Jesus, peace be upon his teachings. The problem with Christianity, and this is why God saved us with Islam. This is what we believe as Muslims.
First of all, this moron says, like, okay, which hand do we wipe with? Like, this is a major issue. And he also thinks like, okay, yeah, there's like Islam, the Quran doesn't say anything, so this is where we follow Jesus's teachings. You think Jesus talks about which hand you should wipe your asshole with? What are you talking about? And why should he be talking about any of these things? You don't know what you're talking about, obviously. I'm not saying I can say a lot to Muslims. I can say some things to Muslims, but like, if they want to say like, here are the facts, or I don't have those. But this guy doesn't know his own religion or other religions.
So this is not a dig against Christians in any way. Just understand why we believe this is.
Hand, yeah.
But understand me. No, but think about this.
You know, there's a long tradition in many cultures of saying the left hand is used for things like wiping your ass, and I believe the word sinister refers to the left. I think as a word like that, I think it may be the word sinister that refers to the left. And I do think left-handed people live 7 years less than right-handed people, which no one's ever talked about. Like, there's something evil about the left side. It's weird, but it's like biological.
Ben, think about this. If God never gave Islam, this is what would happen. We would never be able to authenticate the true sayings of Jesus. If God never gave us Islam, we would never know what a prophet actually behaved like truthfully. Because if let's say you agree with me, Prophet Muhammad.
In fact, my name Benjamin, which like it's a Hebrew name. Ben means son of. You find out throughout Hebrew. Benjamin technically, I think, means son of the right hand, or which would be translated son of strength or good son. You know, so. There's a long-standing tradition of associating the right, like Jesus was seated at the right hand of God. You're my right hand man. Weird. It's just interesting.
Muhammad, we believe he's a prophet, and we believe we actually authenticated a lot of his life. Let's say we believe we actually have like probably the most authenticated story in all of history is the Prophet Muhammad's life, right? There's a lot of misleading stuff, but there's a lot of strong stuff.
So, not true.
I haven't studied it.
A lot of studies on this. The things that we don't trust 100%, we throw it out. We don't even believe it. This is why we call them Shi'at. is because they accept the non-trustworthy accounts. So this is why we can't accept the Christians, because they trust non-worthy accounts. But imagine God didn't give us Islam. We would never be able to trust anything, because no one can authenticate any of these sayings of Jesus, peace be upon him.
Okay, but hold on. You just gotta. And I'm not an expert in Islam. I'm not gonna say I'm an expert in Islam. But why would you say that Islam authenticates the teachings of Jesus as authentic? What does that mean?
So that means
Why? I've never read the Quran.
Let me ask you this: Did Jesus wipe his? Did Jesus
Holy
go?
Spirit protects the writers of the New.
Did Jesus go to the bathroom
New
with?
Testament that these are authentically what Jesus.
Yeah, let me
said
ask you this:
supposed to know.
Did Jesus, peace be upon him, use toilet paper after the bathroom, or did he wipe with his with water, for example?
Oh, well, that's a different question.
Well,
We don't know.
Well, hey, in Islam we know. In Islam we know.
Such a ludicrous debate pro point. In Islam, we know which hand our Lord used to wipe his butt.
In Islam, we know what the Prophet went to the bathroom and which hand he used. Can you believe that?
I don't even understand.
It's
that.
authenticated. That means you can trust what your Prophet did and you can follow along with it. Whereas for you would never be
Well,
able
what's the
to.
answer? What's
That's not. That's obviously. I don't think that's in the Quran. He's just saying Middle Eastern people do that, so he probably did that, and I wouldn't deny that, but I don't know how that's a flex.
the answer? Did he use
The
right
answer
hand,
is
right?
you never use your right hand. Your left hand's the one that you use to wipe, and you always use water. You never use, and then you.
Max Extreme says, "Bring it queer." Oh, Hormaxer, Hurricane Pyro is a wonderful guy. I know. You know he does like get into like reporting and stuff like that, but he's a wonderful guy. I think he's. I get it.
Wipe with toilet paper if you have it. You always use water for.
You're
That's the
telling me
answer.
that Jesus followed that custom.
Yes, and you see it all the time. In the hole, there will be a hole, and next to the hole, there will be a small, like a thermos, almost like a red thermos. If you ever look at the Moroccan
you're
life,
talking about.
yeah, that's exactly what they used to do. They used to go fill it with water, put it, and then he would put it with his right hand, and so he can.
We once went to an African market because we had to get spices, Ethiopian spices for an Ethiopian restaurant, and they had a bathroom, and had a toilet. No toilet paper and just a jug of water. And I was like, what the fuck? Right? So, I mean, I think I was taking a piss, so it wasn't an issue, but it's genuine for most of these, like for large sections of the world. I don't know exactly how they do it, but they don't use toilet paper, and they consider it cleaner overall, and they find toilet paper to be just like crazy. So, I mean, I guess it's similar to a form of bidet, except you run it down the top. I imagine the top of your ass crack, and let everything run off, and then get your hand in there just to, move everything around. And it probably is cleaner if you wash your hands with soap afterwards. I'm talking about what I don't know. How many people use toilet paper in the world?
Thanks for the context. I had no idea.
70%. Do you remember going to that African place, that African market? It was like in the hood. You remember going there?
I remember you
ever?
telling me about it. I never saw the toilet, but yeah.
Did you remember going to the market?
I never
with
went
us?
in. No, but it was.
Oh,
no.
you were just in the van or whatever?
Yeah.
So yeah, their toilet was like, I mean, this is not for like Western people, right? It says no toilet paper. And they have like a jug, like a pitcher,
Yeah.
right? And for a Western, it's like crazy, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think what they do is they pour it. It makes a certain amount of sense down the ass crack. Because you're not going to like splash it on your anus, right? It'd be just difficult. You pour it down, most of it
I would imagine.
goes
yeah.
down, and then you use your hand to like anything remaining, and you pour it down again. I don't think they use soap in that
I don't
situation.
think so.
But then I imagine they wash their hands in the sink,
Yeah.
which still will leave a residue. So that's why they like, even though Ethiopians eat with their hands, they don't use their left hand.
Yeah.
This one's for pooping, this one's for eating.
Yeah.
And if you put your left hand out to an Ethiopian, they'll be like, that's like an insult, I think.
Oh, okay. That
So
makes sense.
I don't know. I think there are a lot of people that's their routine, and they see toilet paper as gross. I mean, that's genuine, and I can see how they would say that because you guys just sort of smear it a little and then leave it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can see that. It's kind of like a non-mechanized bidet. In Amsterdam, I
Yeah.
stayed at a hotel where a toilet had a ledge to catch your poop so you can examine it before you flush. But man, it did not flush off that ledge too well. I've heard of that. I've heard of that.
I mean, it's like the thing I was telling you, like my friend Jack, who's no longer my friend, when he grew up in Taiwan, all the kids like hung around in like on the dirt and had like kind of togas on, or not togas, like tunic kind of things on
Yeah.
that were just open on the bottom. Didn't have diapers, and they would just, I don't know, go and shit somewhere and then come back. And so like diaper changing didn't largely exist. That seems pretty cool. Like it's a lot easier than like, it's kind of gross. I think we all can remember. I don't know if everyone can remember. I can remember kind of vaguely like sitting in the shit in my diaper.
Me too. I can remember
And
pooping
it's
in my diaper.
Kind of, yeah, like I think probably towards the end you remember it because it's weird because you're not always doing it. And you're like, this is weird because it is just weird. Like, why
Why am I
you
sitting
know what I mean?
in this? Yeah.
And it's kind of comforting, but also it's like, if your mom doesn't change it, or parent doesn't change it, caretaker doesn't change it, it also gets rashed up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just kind of gross. As adults, it's like gross when you're hanging. That's why I never took care of kids who were under a certain age. Because like, especially when they're like 4 and they're shitting, like they haven't gotten it. It's gross, stinks.
It
There's
is
nothing
gross.
grosser than a kid with a shit-filled diaper, you know?
Baby poop is adorable though.
Oh yeah, baby poop. is
So cute.
yeah, and it doesn't even smell bad.
No, yeah. It smells like milk.
But what I'm saying is there are these traditions anyways. I'm sure he's going to say like, our system is superior than yours. But it's interesting because we assume when we see something like that, it's like, you guys are crazy and primitive.
Yeah.
And they actually don't see it that way. They see it as the reverse. Like, you guys are crazy. And that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting.
They wouldn't say that I
Cultural
think about the
perspective.
camel as opposed to a car. I think they're like, yeah, no, I wish I had a Lambo.
Yeah.
But like, as far as that goes, I think they think we're primitive. And I think that's kind of interesting. I
Yeah.
think it's interesting. And it is true that like when there's a crisis, you can't get toilet paper. We in the West kind of like lose it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Throw the toilet paper in the trash. Wait, I do kind of want to research that though. What percentage of the world uses toilet paper? 70 to 75% of the world does not use toilet paper. What do they use instead? Water. Huh. Interesting. RV is stinky. What percent of India does open defecation? Dude, I have to watch this clip again. It's so brutal.
The feminism movement didn't unite women, it split women. In many ways, the second wave of feminism, women were historically, for millennium, the caretakers of a community, the community leaders. They would check on the elderly. They would feed the poor. They would take care of the children, right? So what happened is that we took them out of their caretaking roles, and it was like taking a keystone species
You know he
out
was
of the
deep.
environment.
You know he was
Much of the
deep.
environment degraded and shriveled up. That's why we're seeing 50%. That's why we're seeing, in my opinion, that's why we're seeing such
come
a rise in
on.
mental illness. Women
On
aren't going
stream,
to check on
dog.
their neighbors anymore. They're not feeding the poor at their local church. They're really
On
preoccupied
stream,
with
dog.
making money and materialism and the GDP and
Bro,
a
Overload
world
found
in
another
which
account.
they are
What a
no
bunch of
longer
losers.
caretakers.
I mean, Manar is worried about removing the wrong video. Oh, that's just absolutely brutal. Literally makes me feel ill. The kills me.
Wipe with his left. This is actually one of the teachings.
Okay, just to give you guys a quick update, we are 20 minutes away from the first moment of disrespect.
For example, how did Jesus prostrate to pray? How did he prostrate to pray? Did he do this? Did he do this? Or did he do this? Like, which action did he do? Did he do this action?
Your balls smell
Or
good?
did he do this action?
Jesus pray? How did Jesus
We
Yeah. Which action did he use to pray?
we don't know. But wait, when you said, I know what you're saying, the whole and all that stuff. Because we used to own an Ethiopian restaurant. Ethiopian culture is a Semitic culture. It's similar to the Middle East. But aren't you appealing to like
Gracie, that's where your spice comes from, huh?
Customs of the Middle East to say like that's, and I would admit that's probably.
You guys
true.
used to have an Ethiopian restaurant, huh? That's why Gracie's so spicy. Okay, I get it. Okay. No, I'm kidding. Hey, my bad. I'm
Sniffnar.
sorry. No disrespect, but hey, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm just saying, are you saying that because Muslims are often understand like Arabic, Middle Eastern culture that they can help us, like say Europeans, to understand what more was likely to have happened? Because
GXV, don't ever remove that clip.
like minor details of the culture, but I don't really understand why you couldn't say.
That's where your spice comes from? Well, we know where his spice comes from. Yikes!
We Arabs. I don't know that you're Arab though. You're South Indian, right?
So no, I am Arab. I'm Syrian. What do you mean? This is the master race,
you're
the
Syrian,
Syrian.
okay.
Yes,
Someone said you're
Damascus.
Indian.
I'm from Damascus. I'm where all of culture came to me. They came to me.
Yeah. You're in Syria?
I'm Damascus, in the middle, middle of. You know when Herakl left Syria, when he got defeated by Khalid bin Walid, he looked at Damascus. He said, "Goodbye, you beautiful land. The enemy will enjoy you." You know that in the time when Prophet Muhammad, right after Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, died, we were conquering
He's so loud. Holy shit.
the Byzantine Empire, which was the west.
We're 20 minutes away from the first good part. 12 minutes. No.
Like
18
15.
minutes. Yeah.
Which is almost like Spain, Egypt, stuff like that. And then at the same time, we're conquering the Ghassasins, which are the Persians, which was Iraq and everything. What happened was we had to do a draft because there was two wars, and so we needed men. So there were so many people that drafted to go die in Syria before dying in Iraq. We had to close the Syrian draft. You understand? We had to close it so we can start sending people to. So many men wanted to die in Syria from how beautiful Syria was. Is all I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I believe that's true.
No, beautiful. Syria was one of the most beautiful nations.
I
of
found
all of
this with
history.
Middle Eastern people, and I consider Ethiopians to be Middle Eastern people. They love their land, but it's like this weird pride. Like, obviously, you love your land. And that's a beautiful thing, but like, my land is better than everyone else's land. I heard that constantly from Ethiopians. And I was like, I mean, the obvious question is, so why are you here then?
Right.
They're like, oh, it's so fertile. It's so, it's kind of beautiful. It's kind of cute in a way, but it's like, okay, you're coming over here begging to be rescued from your land.
Yeah.
And I get it. It's the other tribe, not your tribe. Your
Right.
tribe is the good tribe. But still, you're fucking it up.
Yeah.
And so you should be grateful and maybe hesitate to say that your land is better than every other land on earth. It's kind of obnoxious, right?
It is obnoxious.
If you're on your land and I'm visiting it, you can say, I love this land. No problem.
Yeah.
But if you come to my land, beg my government to take you in as a refugee,
Yeah.
then how about being a little less the part about my land is beautiful, no problem. My land is better than your land. Why don't you shove that up your ass and then clean it out with your, water in your left hand? You know what I mean? Like, fuck off.
Yeah. It's annoying. Yeah.
Even Herakl, when he left, he was mad. But yeah, so you have to understand
How do you view as a
you miss all that
How do you view-
history. You miss all that history if you don't have this religion. If you don't have this history, you know what I mean? Like if we believe these.
If any of you guys want to make $1 million, okay, $1 million. Look it up. Ethiopian Americans, I get it. They're skinny. They're starving. Okay, I get it. Like that was like a long time ago. They're incredibly successful in America. They're one of the most successful groups. Indians are also, but like Ethiopians are very, very successful. Small group, but very successful. Very wealthy, highly educated. They scoop up all the we need black people jobs because they're nice people, shy, unassuming, right?
Yeah, makes sense.
So, yeah, okay. We got 5 black professors. They're all Ethiopians. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, okay. And they're not even really black because they're not sub-Saharan Africans. Okay.
Yeah.
So they got a grift. No problem. And I could say I had a black business, but I never hired any black people working at their business. But like on the face of it, we were the most diverse. Like we were the most black. Like I would say there are black businesses for black people, but we had a black business that was almost all white people.
Yeah.
That the white people thought was really fancy. That's the only business in the whole country that's like that, right? Where like it's a fancy business. It's almost entirely staffed by blacks and consumed by rich, fancy whites.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But what's my point?
You were saying if you guys want to make a ton of money.
Oh, the Ethiopians. Okay, so they think like the reason you have to go to an Ethiopian spice market because they say you need Ethiopian everything. Okay, it's like and largely the thing is a pepper. It's a pepper blend like curry. Okay, and they're like you need to get the Ethiopian berbere, which is like a word like curry. It's a blend of spices, mostly peppers, right? Which if you ask them like where do these peppers come from? They'll say like, well, they've been here forever, right? And you're like, no, the Portuguese brought hot peppers from North America. They're like, no way. And it's like, yes, there were no hot peppers on any of the, anywhere outside of North America until the European trade began.
1600s.
1600s, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And it didn't become like, they didn't really get a hold of, it probably was a while. They were first probably like, well, you know what I mean? But eventually, because Indian spices are spicy, it got mixed in, right?
Yeah.
Hot peppers never got really hot in became a big thing in like Syria with milder cuisines like the yogurt stuff. Anyways, of course you can make that pepper blend in America with American hot peppers and just tell them it came from Ethiopia and make crazy, crazy margins.
Yeah.
Because let's say the way the Ethiopian market works, the government takes because they consider it a national treasure. So they make a huge markup if you take our heritage from our homeland. And then the transportation is always a middleman. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So if you could kind of bypass that and go like, look, it's not like, but they'll say this, okay, but like, okay, so you know how champagne, there's actually no champagne that isn't from the region of Champagne or whatever, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I don't really think it's like that. All the stuff they grow over there, you can grow over here. Tough, the great grain there. It's a great grain. It's grown in like Idaho.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you could just kind of get that whole, and you could beat the prices at these African markets and have it be like these Ethiopians spend a shitload of money on these spices.
For their home cooking, you mean?
Yeah, because they don't really substitute. They're like, if we're gonna do this, we're gonna do it the Ethiopian way, the Ethiopian stuff, which is kind of cool, but like,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be that way. And you can obviously have machines that make the little pancakes if you replicate what goes on, right? But we couldn't figure out a way to do it. But when someone figures out a way to do it, and these can be mass produced, they paid like $1 per little pancake. And they would have paid $3 for it. Because they're hard to make, and they don't know how to make them in America because, like, the water is different, I think, because it's harder water or whatever, and they can't make it work. Traditional women who, like, and the whole thing of a traditional woman is, like, it's like, yeah, she could be a banger. She could come from a wealthy family, but if she cannot make her injera, she's garbage as a human being, right? It's all about, if you make injera, like, you are queen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So largely it came over here and they're like, oh, we just can't do it. And I was like, well, that's not going to work. And they're just like, well, we can't do it because they can't tweak it. They're just like, well, this is how we've done it. We don't know why it works, but like it doesn't work here. And so that's why your mother became the injera worker and like got carpal tunnel syndrome because she figured out how to do it okay.
With like crepe makers and stuff.
Yeah. And she never taught them how to do it. She was just like, well, fuck it. They've just said they're not going to do it. So they're sitting around babbling. She's down there,
I learned how to make injera.
It's not that hard, but you do have to
Pour it out, tilt it around.
Well, it has to do with but it has to do with the sourdough making the bubbles. You don't make the bubbles. The thing is crap.
Oh yeah,
Because it's got to be light and fluffy and tangy.
Yeah.
Anyways, there's a way to do it, but if someone wanted to do that, tweak it and mass produce it, because you can find a factory that'll make it. Once you figure out the formula, you just tell a factory to make it. They'll make it for you.
Yeah.
You put someone's face on it that looks in like Ethiopian, like, hello, my name is Amawabi, and you put that like funky writing on it. You'll sell it to them and also all the whites who are like, want to try to do Ethiopian food at home. You make bank because the actual ingredients are not very expensive.
Yeah.
Hot peppers and flour, it's not very expensive.
Yeah. It's like popularizing ghee butter,
Vinegar. No. But here's the other thing about it. It's a powdered mix.
Yeah.
It lasts forever.
Yeah. Right.
Not forever,
right.
but
Long time.
you don't have to refrigerate. It's not like ghee butter because you have to refrigerate that and all that stuff.
Why doesn't like McCormick do that or something?
But they have their own butter that's called, I forget what it was called. It was like fucking gold. You buy a bunch of this butter because it's like ghee in that the milk stuff is taken out of it. Right? Remember that? They make that yogurt stuff out of it, that kind of cottage cheesy stuff.
Yeah.
Whatever it was called. And then they mix it with some spices. All right. But they have to keep it cold, obviously. And it was incredibly expensive. It was like $200, maybe $500 for a thing of it, right? Because Makuba or something like that. I don't remember. But the solids, the milk solids is what I'm talking about. The milk solids are taken out of it. That's what ghee is. It's just without the milk solids, butter. So it's very, very oily. Basically like an oil.
Or Maxer wants you to read this quote from Winston Churchill.
Some people like the Jews and some do not, but no thoughtful man can deny the fact that they are, beyond any question, the most formidable and most remarkable race which appeared in the world. I agree with that. My take on Jews is that they're the best and the worst. So it's a little bit like the bell curve, right? Where men are more extreme than women, but not better or worse, but they're more great and like more criminals and more geniuses.
Yeah.
All right. You spend time with God. Also Catholics, Christians, Christianity, give me a break. Look at the medieval world. Where are you going to go and get the equivalent of these castles? It's a joke anywhere else.
Yeah.
But also, World War II. That's pretty much a European thing. I understand the Asians got in on it, but like World Wars I and II, horrendous, and the Holocaust, horrendous.
Yeah.
When we stray from what we've been given, we don't go back to like, the Roman Empire, which was awful, but like it's like the end of the world. Anyways.
Why is baseball Jew's favorite sport? Because the field is a diamond.
Christians, it's just here. Let me ask you an example. Why did the Christians do that? Why did the Christians do that? No. The Christians were one of the most sophisticated people of their country.
The Arabs, they do this thing. Who are you?
Oh, yeah.
Why did they not authenticate? Why is the first thing that they do when they had the privilege was they disassociated and started creating denominations? The first thing they did was, instead of authenticating everything and all the manuscripts, they started disassociating. Oh, we're the Catholics, we're the Orthodox, we're blah, blah, blah. Why did they do that?
Okay. Well, I mean, you're talking.
Why did they do that?
Why did they do that?
That's not like right away. That's 1,050 years after the founding, right?
So you're telling me
occur in all groups.
So you're telling me Christianity was preserved throughout all of that history?
Okay, but look, I think it's this word authenticate. I think this has to do with you questioning that Muslims question that the texts that we would say are the authentic texts of the Old and New Testament, I'm not sure what you call them, Hebrew scripture, Christian scripture, should be questioned, right? Something like that. Yeah, so that's bizarre from a Christian point of view. I'm not trying to say you're not right, but I'm saying that's bizarre from a Christian point of view, because how would a group of people who are from 8 centuries later say, we know what really, I'm just talking from common sense, right? I'm not trying to be insulting. How would you question an account which came from many centuries before, in which there is no alternative account? You see what I'm saying? So, and I'm not taking offense at this. You don't believe that Jesus.
Yeah, like, do you know? All right, this is the way, guys. Do you know that Muslims don't believe that Jesus died on the cross?
I've heard you say that before.
Because they don't believe God would allow a prophet to end that way. I think it has mostly to do with like the honor thing. Like that would be a dishonor.
So what do they believe happened?
It's weird. It's like that he appeared, he'll explain a version of it. That like he looked like he died, but he actually didn't die.
Oh.
But if you know anything about the Romans, like when they killed you,
They killed.
they didn't really make a lot of mistakes.
They were brutal.
Really died on the cross? Is that correct for Muslims?
Yeah, but the only reason we don't believe that, the only reason we don't believe that is because it was authenticated to us in the Quran. Quran. Oh yeah. The only reason, sorry. The only reason we don't believe that, yes, you're right. We don't believe Jesus himself was crucified. We believe it was appeared to be Jesus. And at that time, if you saw somebody who was bludgeoned and they're calling him Jesus, you would believe it. And if his face is bleeding or fucking bludgeoned, by Roman, I can see Roman soldiers stepping on the guy.
There was also a Christian heresy like this. It had to do with when they were trying to figure out divinity and humanity. Right. How could God die? Right. I forget what it was called. Monotheism or something like that. Maybe he only appeared to die. It was like a ghost or something like that. Or so the idea is like Jesus appeared in human form, but it was really just like putting on a shirt. He wasn't truly human. He was like
I see.
God. You know how like an angel, they'll say the angel Gabriel appeared to her. Okay, angels don't have physical form because they're spiritual, so they will take on a form in order to communicate with a person directly. So they had that view. Jesus took on a form, but wore it like only externally, and therefore
Like a shell.
But the problem there is then Jesus didn't really die because he didn't really take on a form. Do you know what I mean? And so his form was just. And why would he get his form back? Why wouldn't he just go back You know what I
Right,
mean? So there's all
right.
sorts of problems like that. But anyways. Monophysitism.
Anyway, you
I
see
think
what
that's
happens to
it's
the
called.
police when after he meets the police.
Monothelitism.
There's monothelitism and then there's monophysitism, and I don't know. It doesn't really matter that much. We've figured it out. Fully human, fully divine. Other formulations might seem to solve problems, but they create more problems than they solve. You know, like there's this thing of like, well, if our Lord was perfect, did he take shits? That seems beneath him, right? Which is where we get the term holy shit.
No, it is not. But the answer is yes, right? Because he was a human.
Yeah, I don't think his body would have like some sort of perfect digestion of fallen food. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we don't know, but I remember talking to an Arthur bro at one point and being like, "What?" And he had this whole thing about that Jesus wasn't born vaginally because
I
the
remember
punishment
that.
of Eve is that she felt pain in childbirth. So like the new Eve wouldn't feel pain in childbirth.
Yeah.
So you have these weird theories like maybe he just like slid right out, like no pain, or he somehow appeared at her side because, and the other thing is she's kept virgin. So
If she birthed
He
a
like-
baby.
he like ducked to under. It becomes ridiculous at a certain point.
Yeah.
The hymen, so that she was preserved physically, you know.
Yeah.
It gets
remember
into
that
weird stuff.
conversation.
I don't know that the church has ever definitively like figured that stuff out. But I do think it becomes weird if you say like she gave birth to him spiritually and then he appeared on her side. Like that's a problem because then it's not human, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Right. It's not human.
I mean,
You know,
he's certainly.
sometimes you don't even-
I think the idea he suckled at her breast, like that has to be true.
Yep.
You know.
No
But
way.
people found that degrading. Like, how could God suckle at a woman's breasts, right?
Right.
Mortal. And then, of course, we say, well, she was original sin, but like, was her milk better? Did she have perfect milk because she was spared original sin, and therefore he didn't need to shit because he perfectly digested it? I don't know. Probably good.
I would imagine it was decent breast milk. Yeah. Good quality.
His face looks like
Well,
an
she didn't
immortal.
she didn't need junk food.
Yeah. Right.
So imagine if he's like meeting a Roman soldier and he's going to be
You know,
executed.
I'll try. Grace was raised. It was a tough upbringing. I mostly raised her Catholic, but she's a girl, so I didn't really tell her much about anything until she, what she needs to know. But she knows enough.
God bless
to
you.
say,
You're
do you
lucky.
understand the question like that? Because
No, she doesn't know enough.
if
She doesn't know
Islam is the
enough.
true- If Islam is the true religion, then she should become a Muslim.
Yes,
And
yes.
If Catholicism is the true religion, she should become a Catholic. Absolutely. It's not a tribal thing.
But
I'm curious because you're very impressive. She loves your energy, all that stuff. And I know it's not a sexual thing because you're married or you have a woman.
Yummy.
So
hey,
she's also Western, so she's
I am
filthy
taken, I'm
whore of the
taken.
West. But
I put
but I'm curious.
Okay. So, just a note there. I'm making like a joke, sexual joke, like saying or whatever, and he says I'm taken. That's just what happens.
That's
right there.
perfectly fine.
I don't
All
think
that's
anybody would
perfectly
say
fine.
that's disrespectful or anything like that.
Yeah.
If I'm more curious whether
I'm not gonna lie,
she
she's
can ask this same question that I, like, do you understand?
she's a
what I'm saying?
cutie.
I think what
bro.
you're saying is,
She's a
how
cutie.
can they revise the history of Jesus when Catholics?
Okay,
grew
that's
up with-
him doing the first little dip off.
Yeah.
She's a
actually, I
cutie,
didn't write
bro.
down.
She's a cutie. That's a little. That's
1:18.
passable, I would say. It's getting a little.
Well, the point is, he says that to his stream only. He mutes himself on the Discord call with us, and then says it to his stream only. So
If he said
why
that to
would you
me,
do
like,
that?
I'm gonna take no offense at that at all. I don't think you would either. But yeah, it's a little bit of this thing that begins that we'll see. It lands in something that I think is a huge disaster for him. Go ahead.
Yeah. Morning, Amsterdam.
it, and then they
Yeah,
came up
that's
with a
sort of
new
the essential
history
for a
hundreds
Christian
of
is
years
like,
later.
what?
Why would you edit the
What did he say? You'll find out, Jessica. Like in 10 minutes.
story that somebody else came up
Yeah.
with? How would you have the right to edit it?
You can, well, in a sense, like, well, here's what I would say: you can question and
also doesn't
studying
really
the
have a right.
scriptures. You can say, oh, there are various textual differences and those sorts of things. And Christians have studied that. Sometimes people get defensive about that. You can say it's not written in English. Of course,
But
that's true.
isn't that the critique
What are
that
the
they give
earliest
you
texts?
guys? Isn't that
But
the
how do you
critique?
come up with an altogether new story?
Isn't that the critique that's given against Christians? Is how can you prove that, for example, Jesus rose from the death, except from the scriptures itself? That's literally the only contradiction that you guys.
You understand that,
that's
right?
actually the number one.
He's saying something different than what I'm saying. He's saying the only evidence is from the scripture itself, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm saying your evidence for this story is not in the scripture. Mm-hmm. It's hard to not. It looks like you're making it up. The scripture, you have this. You can say I don't believe the scripture, but why would you say like, oh, I know what really happened there, when there's no evidence of an alternative account?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. I do get that. Yeah.
Dalmatian seems a little wound up right here. Read my chat. I just did. There you go.
Guys, can we help him with this?
What is the original?
Forbes. Read my chat.
What chat?
Forbes. I don't know. He didn't say anything. It's your body here. What chat?
He's crashing out.
Contradiction
He's
I think that
losing
people
it.
attack Christianity on is that a lot of people believe that the reason they're Christians because of this rising from the death, but the only evidence for this rising from the death is scriptural based.
Yes.
So
A
you have
little
to
bit beyond that.
So you have to rely on your scripture, and then so this is what happens. The scripture is an interpretation, so it loses context, it loses meaning. Let me give you an example. Let me say I have to rely on an interpretation of the Quran to come up with the story of what that actual event happened there. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
I have to rely on the interpretation, so not the story. So there's a word in the Quran says falaq. Falaq means, it could mean the dawn, but it also could mean the splitting of something. So he will say, like the Big Bang is the falaq, and also falaq could be, when you see the small splitting of the sun from in the dawn, that's also falaq. So imagine you misinterpreted the falaq, and in the context you wrote it as, for example, instead of explaining it's the Big Bang, that's what the God was talking about, you wrote it as al-falaq, which means the splitting of the dawn.
Is it the same writing, the same exact? Or is it
No, what
sounds
happened
the
is
same?
when you interpret it, you have one context. That's it. You're not allowed any
There's
more
just
context.
one Arabic word. the
It's
same.
one word, and it depends on the context. Can you believe it? The context is what gives you what the word means, because it has the
Right,
same
that's
exact
true in all
root.
languages. So.
Yes,
That's true of
because it has the
any
same root.
What do you mean? Any word can mean.
a word that could have two meanings. Depends on the
Yeah.
context. It's not unique to Quran
That's
or
a good
Arabic
point.
or
It's
anything.
like, isn't
right?
that amazing?
Well, it's like saying like I don't know.
Bear and bear can mean two different things in different
To
contexts.
carry, to bear arms as opposed to grizzly bear.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And English is not amazing for
tons of
having that.
words are like that. Okay.
So what happens is when you interpret it, you have a different context, and you have a singular context that's not
Homophones,
allowed
yes.
to be
No.
interpreted in any other way. So you
Those aren't called homophones. Bear, and like beer are homophones. They're not. Those are not.
Those aren't homophones.
They're not exact homophones. They're similar, but like
Oh,
son and son
That's a homophone, yeah.
is a
Spelled differently.
homophone. But I think you're talking here about the same word spelled the same way that
Mm-hmm.
sounds the same way that has two different meanings. Like, sunny. You can have a sunny disposition, but it's also sunny. The sun's out.
Yeah.
They're different.
The point is he's bragging about Arabic or whatever, the
Whatever, yeah, he's getting a little enthusiastic here.
Quran.
Go ahead, Grace.
Wait, can you make that sound?
Quran. I don't think.
Quran.
You're derived from the full meaning of that scripture, especially if you're relying on an interpretation.
It's called faux ami. Okay, thank you, Panzer.
Now that's the number one flaw in Christianity. So what you're asking me basically is how did we do that? How did we figure out for Islam? How did you know that this is the authenticated sayings of the Prophet? And how because there's so many things to say. And you're right. You know what happened, Thorpe? It became a complete science. We are the first originator of knowledge and science. The Muslims are the first originators
Well,
of
the Greeks.
The first university in all of history was actually created by a woman,
Oh,
a
spelled-
Muslim woman in Morocco.
Homographs are two words spelled the same, but pronounced differently. What would be an example of that? Or homographs?
Well, flower and flower is a homophone.
Yeah.
Spelled lead.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Good one, OPC.
Lead and lead. Yep. Read and read.
Morocco. Look up all of this. The first, for example,
Cook a ham.
no. Yeah, exactly. Where we give the empowerment for the
Live,
women because they could teach
Yeah.
other women. They don't have to teach other men. They could teach other women. So they would have their own classes and they would talk to each other and they had more time, so they had the availability.
When was that university founded?
In Morocco, I think it was 1460 or 12, something
Okay,
like that.
1460. But you would admit that Socrates and Plato and Aristotle existed thousands of years before that.
We
and
believe
had
they
sort
were
of a school.
schools, but they were not university levels where
Okay,
they
sure,
created
sure, sure.
curriculums. And
I also believe
took-
this is incorrect. First university was the University of Paris in the 1200s. You want to check that?
First university in the world.
Yeah. University of Bologna, 1088.
1088.
So that was not Muslim.
No.
Put list of oldest universities. It depends what you mean. In continuous operation.
The ones that still exist, I think that's.
I know, but I know what. Oh my God. Okay.
Oh.
I'm taking a break
Wait,
now.
no, I
because
see what
you
you're saying.
thought
No.
I needed that explained
No.
to me.
You're saying, does that necessarily mean they were started the earliest? Right?
No, there could be older. In other words, if you said like, I don't care if it's in continuous operation. I just want to know the earliest one.
Right.
Okay, but you had to inform me of what in continuous operation meant.
That was a stupid thing to
For
say.
that reason,
I'm
I'm
out.
out. Are you doing okay?
Yeah.
I do want you to kind of. How far away are we? But I'm just curious. What are the answers? Oh.
Oh.
Do you know in America what the earliest one is? Can you imagine? It's not a hard one to guess.
Harvard?
Harvard. Do you know number 2?
Yale? Oh, Brown. William and Mary.
William and Mary.
William and Mary.
1693.
1693. That's only like 90 years after we got here, right?
I think Harvard was 1636.
Oh, it does say Morocco. Oh, maybe we're wrong. Of course, Al Jazeera. The world's oldest university was founded by a woman of color. Okay, so there is some argument that it's this one. University of Al-Qurayni. Guys, I want to skip to the good part. It's an hour. I don't want to give it away, but it's about 10 minutes from here and then another 12 minutes. Let's make it through. Speed run. You know what? Actually, I'm going to speed it up a little bit. I never do this, but like a lot of this is we can get through this. I just want you guys to hear for yourselves when we go through it that we didn't do anything disrespectful on our side before we get to what he did.
in I think that's the level. There were schools like you could go to the school, you could go to a mosque and learn English, Arabic, and Quran. But this was a university level. It's a higher education. Once you have all this education, now you're elevating yourself.
It's true.
So
Medieval Islam was, as a civilization, Islamic civilization was.
We did the first surgery.
Far more
We did the first
progressive
surgery.
European civilization.
So yeah. So what happened
For a time.
was we had science. We unlocked science. We were the original unlockers of science. So what happened was we had an era of Renaissance. So imagine Leonardo DiCaprio. No one can even make up anything close to what he has right now, except AI. But I'm saying, like, you know what I mean? It's a joke. Nobody laughed.
Habibi,
Not Leonardo DiCaprio. I mean Leonardo da Vinci. No one can even make anything he
Da
created.
Vinci, okay.
No one can create anything that Da Vinci created, except AI, of course. But what I'm saying is, it was a big feat, and this
I
was
wish
something
I
happened 1,000
popped
years
an
ago,
Addy.
500 years ago, like old science. So what I'm saying is, old
Yes,
science
that's
can
true.
be superior. Old science is superior. We are the superior people. We actually came up with all this knowledge, and what happened was we had the
God, immigrants are so fucking annoying. Go back if you're so fucking superior.
person. He was called Muhammad. He was. This is the third century after.
Plato's Academy was in 387 BC. Seems to be some debate about this whole university thing, but was it like a university?
Prophet Muhammad, and he went and authenticated. So he would travel to Saudi Arabia, and this is Sahih Bukhari. This is Muhammad al-Bukhari. This is why we believe it's Sahih. It's called the correct. This is literally what it means. I mean, his book means the correct, which means the authenticated. Anything not in that book, we don't believe in it. So there are all these stories that were never authenticated, that he couldn't authenticate. Now they could be true.
Wait.
Listen to me. They
Wait,
could be
but-
true.
You don't believe in Islam just because Muslim culture is superior in your mind, right? Like the history, that doesn't have anything to do with whether you believe.
No, but he was asking me, how can I trust that we were able to accomplish this feat of being able to authenticate everything? I'm telling him we were living in an era of a renaissance of science, of knowledge. We were able to accomplish these very easily, actually. We accomplished surgeries, we accomplished algorithm knowledge. We were the creators of.
This is unlistenable. We've made it 2 minutes. All right, listen, put a 1 in the chat if you want to keep it at this level. Put a 2 if you want to go back to normal. Go ahead. 1 for fast, 2 for slow. Or normal. 1 for fast, 2 for normal. 1 for fast, 2 for normal. 2, 1. One, two, three. Oh, 1. So far, 1 is winning. 1, 1. Okay.
Numbers, the Indian numbers are
You
Arabic
understand that,
numbers.
Chris?
1,
Algebra
1.
is actually like algebra.
There's a homophone. 1, 1.
Al-Khawarizmi. It's Al-Khawarizmi.
It comes from Arabic, right?
It comes from a Persian guy.
Did they invent numbers?
They invented Indian numbers. Indian numbers
She
are
said
1, 2, 3,
3.
4, 5, 6, 0. This 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the Arabic numbers. But you
A
guys
brown woman of color invented algorithms in the desert.
took them. But they were called Indian numbers. What they were called.
Okay.
So we created the
I just have
zero.
one specific, just one super specific question before you go. Like, I understand the whole kind of civilizational thing, but
Oh, by the way, guys, if anybody wants to donate to me, I'm going to be adding toner to my Amazon wish list so that I can have like silvery blonde hair instead of like piss yellow hair. So if anybody would like to help support that, it's in my link tree, my Amazon wish list. It's like $7, but I'm super broke, so I can't afford it right now.
I'm just asking a very. I think if you could just put yourself in my mindset for a minute, right? And I'm not saying right or wrong. How would someone 800 years later, not on the basis of saying we have any scriptures that show this, say, contradict all of the stories about what happened?
Oh, I gotta switch it back.
Happened to Jesus at the time of his death? Like
Somebody-
and then say,
Okay.
we're right and you're wrong. I just don't see
So-
how that happens.
So that's what the historian's work is. Isn't that what all historian scholars is? That's what the PhD study is about. Is about going in, looking at all the research, figuring out if this research is authenticatable or replicable. Basically, replicable. Can we replicate? Is this something that is found anywhere else that's actually possible, or is there other information that contradicts what we found? And from there, he writes his PhD dissertation. So that's exactly what's happening.
So that is how Islam knows things.
but
by
you have to-
knowledge and the pursuit of knowledge, not
Yep.
by being Islamic.
No. For example, Al-Bukhari, he wrote 7 books. A lot of them are unauthenticatable. A lot of them we don't even trust. We only trust his Sahih, for example. You know what I mean? So he historically he wrote down everything, but he told you, look, I'm not even 100% sure about this, but this I'm 100% sure about. Anybody can go and trust me on this. This is 100% authenticatable. That's what happened. And then we trusted him because he was so truthful. Because he told us what he didn't know, and he told us what he knew. You understand? And then we were able to replicate them.
Sure, that's how science works. But
Yeah, we created science. We created the scientific method. The Muslims created the scientific method. Do you guys know anything?
It's a bit of an exaggeration.
Okay, but that's not how you view like the Quran, where you just say,
By the way, he is kind of right. The first university in the world, not the first university that is still in continuous
there you go.
operation, is this Moroccan one. So. But then there are people in chat saying, well, Plato's Academy was in 507.
Yeah, but
That's not really a university.
yeah.
you can believe it or not believe it or look at it scientifically, right? You have to believe. If I'm not mistaken, that every word in the Quran was literally written down in Arabic by an angel. Now,
Yeah,
if
let
I'm
me give you an
wrong, tell me
example,
I'm wrong.
Thor.
I
That's
believe
not
that's
true.
Ben
That
Thor,
is
let me give you an
not true.
example. So there's a verse in the Quran that says, kill them wherever you find them.
Yeah.
Okay?
We just got a TTS. 1 second. Sorry, on our side.
Come on, guys. Donate more. Come on, guys.
Ring it up, gain our dub.
The optics are high. Crew, I'm in disbelief right now, crew. I'm in disbelief. I can't believe I'm debating these kids. I can't believe I'm talking to you guys.
so
I'm in
annoying.
disbelief.
Sorry. I know that's annoying. You couldn't hear it. Okay, wait.
Sorry,
Can I
okay.
read it to you? It's to you.
I want to
No,
challenge
it's actually
anyone.
a critique of both
I want to
Islam and
challenge
Christianity.
anyone in
Okay.
your chat. Welcome to debate me. Any one of you guys, welcome to debate me in the chat. Anyone.
Okay, well, here's a debate point from somebody in the chat. Islam simply stole and edited their story from Christianity, just like Christianity stole the virgin birth, miracle performing, persecution, crucifixion, and resurrection figure from Greek gods Dionysus and Mithra. Dionysus and Mithra, thousands of years before.
Mithra.
Okay, all I'm gonna.
Which is
so,
not true.
So no. What happened is it appears that there are certain things that agree with the Quran.
I just want to see the timeline. Okay, we're getting there.
4 minutes.
This is a doozy.
No, this one isn't. The next one is.
This whole thing is a doozy. But go ahead.
So he's like, oh, look, the Quran was just stealing from all of these people. Turns out that the only reason they agree is because the Quran is the only document that never changed, whereas all of these things changed. Science is the only one. For example, in the Quran, it was mentioned that the Earth was in an orbit around, in an orbit of itself, and so it was spinning by itself in its own ship. It was called a ship, so basically its own route. And so people, if we trusted science, it would have been, at the time of Socrates, the universe was the center of the world. The Earth used to be the center of the world. That was scientific consensus. Turns out science changed, but the Quran never changed. Science now actually agrees with the Quran that the Earth is in an orbit. And so are we going to say,
Islamic
the Quran was
self-fellatio
stealing?
is annoying as fuck. I mean, it is true that probably we put such an emphasis on the Enlightenment, which I actually think is an endarkenment, that we see Islam and medieval Christianity in the same light, which is to see it as the dark from which the Enlightenment liberated us. And what's true is that both medieval Christianity and medieval Islam, up to a certain point, were the great civilizations, and they were responsible for everything, which then later the Enlightenment claimed as its own. But the way it worked was, I believe the Muslims found the writings of Aristotle, and that caused massive intellectual development. Then Christians, Thomas Aquinas, picked up on those texts, which were just lost, and that caused a kind of renaissance within Catholic theology. The problem with all this, like the glories of Islam stuff, is you got to go. So what happened?
Yeah.
What happened?
Why aren't you guys killing?
And E. Michael Jones has an interesting theory about that, and I think he's right. Because they lacked the Trinity, it reached a kind of dead end. And I think around the year 1400, Islam became cemented into being a fundamentalist religion that couldn't kind of foster innovation. In his theory, and I think it's right, is that it kind of reached a dead end from within its thinking. You can't continue to grow, whereas Christianity has that. Trinitarian Christianity has I mean, really, Catholicism has endless sort of richness within it, and you know, it's hard. I mean, it's just hard if you just look around the world. If you just say like, "Oh, Islam is so great," okay, where there is Islam, where is there anything of note civilizationally? Dubai. If you want to see the Islamic mind at work, go to Dubai.
Which is just a copy.
I mean, they had to hire Western people to do what they were trying to do, and it was stupid.
No, you want to see the Islamic mind at work. What did the hell?
That huge 100 mile, yeah. The city in the desert, like, this is kind of Islamic brain power. I mean, and they're saying, is that a good idea? But what they're really saying is, you know, it's a European saying, like, this is obviously totally stupid. How could anyone think they're going to pull this off? So,
Yeah.
there's something wrong with the thinking here. And the idea of like creating islands that look neat from the sky, it's kind of retarded. My dad actually did that with his house. He wanted it to look neat from the airplanes. It's like, why? Isn't it for the people living in it? You know?
Dubai also is not Islamic, but it is like, those are the people.
Dubai is not, it's not an Islamic state.
No.
But it is Arabs, I think.
Yeah.
So it's not a lack of money. You know what I mean? You could say, oh, the Africans, they don't, you know, well, there is oil in Africa, but like, whatever, you know, like, but you get money in the European mindset. You get New York City, Paris, London. You get money in the Islamic mindset, and you get Dubai and stuff like that, you know,
Yeah.
and they're saying like, I mean, you look at the Islamic mindset, you get Mecca, the Christian mindset, you get the Vatican. I don't know. I think it's tough to see it as like all that great.
Vatican. Okay, so like here's the Vatican, just so people can see what you're talking about, and then
That's not the Vatican, though. Like you would say, like, you know, St. Peter's Square was what you,
which this?
you know, with all the statues around it.
Oh, okay.
That's it in the larger.
Okay. So this is the Christian mind at work,
Yeah.
and this is the Muslim mind.
Well, you should show with the big clock tower they have now.
Oh yeah, with the clock tower. Where is that clock tower? I guess this is the closest. Okay. So, Christianity, Islam.
Yeah, and like, you know, it's interesting, but it's, I'm not speaking on whatever the truth is, but it's just kind of like from the outside, it just looks, I don't know, you know, retarded, right?
Yeah. It's a cube.
It's a black cube that actually I don't even think anyone knows. I don't even think anyone claims there's anything in it, right? I don't know.
No. What is the Kaaba?
Kaaba.
It's a stone building at the center of Islam's most important and holiest site.
Okay, but what is it? House of God? What does that mean?
What is this?
Does it contain some relics or something? Or is it
I don't think so. Wait. The Kaaba was built by Ibrahim and his son Ishmael. Ismail.
Oh, okay, that's what they're saying.
Okay.
You know, I mean, it's just, you're not going to really, like, I understand that maybe the truth is, like, smaller and more weird looking than the fake, this Satan made.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, you're just not gonna be able to sell that as like the wow factor is not as much there.
Yeah.
So
They worship the box. That's what I'm talking about.
What happened was Quran never changes. If anything agrees with it, it's by fluke.
Almost
you
there,
know,
guys.
Because it's truth. The Quran is truth, and it's by fluke. People can find out. Like some Chinese remedies do work, not all of them. You know what I mean? And so this is a fluke. It's not something 100%. Whereas the Quran is 100%. Everything in the Quran is authenticatable. Everything.
Okay. All right. So it doesn't take any faith to believe. Am I right to say that it's the Orthodox belief that every word in the Quran was sort of directly transcribed from the mouth of Allah through an angel and written in Arabic?
Or think
that
about it
correct?
like
I'm
this.
not
This
trying
is what happened with Jesus.
It's not
And this is what
the
happened with
theory
Moses.
is.
This is peace be upon him. This is what happened with Abraham. It was God talking directly to them. He was telling them, "Oh Abraham, oh Jesus, oh Muhammad, you need to be doing this."
The Quran says the sun sets in a pool of mud. Tough.
Stay up all night, glorify my name, and and remember me till the last third of the night. Hey, oh Muhammad, do not be sad. Oh Muhammad, it was talking directly to Muhammad, peace be upon him. Now, so some things were attributable directly to him, only to
can
him.
you
So it
highlight
says,
this?
"Do not be
I think that's true. Yeah. Right. And that is a really good point. I can't believe someone on the internet understands that. Yeah.
Christianity is the only religion that can accurately claim that God is love due to God's triune nature, a father, a son, and the love between them.
Yeah.
Or as Owen Benjamin would say, Father, Son, and Holy Squirt.
That was not inaccurate summary of that.
sad." He's talking to him, but you can account to you don't be sad yourself either. But and like this thing about
was
the
Muhammad who was writing it? Prophet Muhammad.
there was
writing it?
no. So Prophet Muhammad, he would take the revelation and people would notice it, that something is happening to him, and then he would speak, and then whatever he spoke, they would try to write down, but at some point he stopped doing that, and then there was a singular
Was it written by? Maybe I'm thinking of Mormonism.
No.
Written
All of
by
them were
angels.
written. Every house had their own Quran. What happened was they had to do a standardization at the end after he died. But no, every house had their own book.
But what I'm saying is, if something.
Can I just say one more thing before we get to the juicy part? Mm-hmm. I think Islamic apologists, which doesn't necessarily mean like the high up guys in Islam, think they're gonna say Christianity doesn't hold up to science, but Islam does. When the same textual criticism that the Bible went through, and historical criticism that the early text went through, in at the turn of the 19th, 20th century, early 20th century, the Bible actually came out. They fleeced it, right? They wanted to say, "Oh, well, did Jesus exist? Are these texts way later?" And so there were people who said that kind of shit, but the consensus actually came around to saying it's pretty hard to argue that these texts came from that time period. Like the wilder claims were largely, and so almost all biblical scholars would say these books were written within 30 or 40 years. Maybe like the Gospel of John written a little bit later, but like the letters of Paul are very tight. Now, were they written right at the time? No, but even for the conventions of the day, like biographies of Roman emperors, stuff that we know when the emperor lived, and we know usually took much longer. These were actually amazingly close to the time of the events. When it comes to Prophet Muhammad, I think there's a lot of question about whether there actually was this actual figure at all. or whether he may have been a very obscure figure. There's very little facts about him, and the first texts we have are like hundreds of years after he supposedly lived. And they give very little detail about who he was. It's very hard to verify. And it's just beginning to be looked at now because everyone's so focused on, debunking Christianity, Europeans, right? Mm-hmm. Even the thing of Mecca is a problem because Mecca's up here. Like, so if Jerusalem is here, Jerusalem is like obviously a very holy place, right? Mm-hmm. Mecca's up here, I think, in Saudi Arabia. Okay. But you find the original mosques all point towards Jerusalem, not Mecca.
Oh.
So there was obviously a shift, and it was hundreds of years in. So they originally saw them. It's just hard to say, like, well, if Mecca was always the thing, then why were the early ones pointed to Jerusalem?
That does seem like a problem.
And, as far as saying, like, okay, we're the real scientific ones, Christianity, man, that's some, and philosophically, there's all sorts of problems with Islam. Fundamentally, the rejection of the Trinity, which is problematic. Also, for example, this thing of like music, and I believe this is in the Quran. Like, you have to, just like morally speaking, like music is bad. All images are bad. Tobacco and alcohol are forbidden for everyone. I mean, it seems too strict, like.
Allah says, and of mankind is he who purchases idle talks, i.e. music, singing, to mislead men from the path of Allah. I don't know. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to throw you off. I just thought it'd be interesting.
Anyways, yeah, I'm interesting. Squat racks. Oh, again, squat rack. Islam is just a bad fan fiction of Christianity. Like, okay. And I'm not super interested in debunking Islam, but to flex and say, like, okay, it's not as bad. It's not as rough as, but like Mormons. Do you know the Mormon thing? That the Jews actually are the Native Americans. They're Jews who came to North America.
Vaguely, yes.
Man, it just doesn't hold up.
Yeah.
And Joseph Smith's writings were like literally, ancient Egypt. Well, it reads just like a kind of mishmash of Protestant stuff at the time. It doesn't look really much different. Mm. Then you have a kind of science fiction thing going on with it too.
True. Yeah. I know. Mormonism.
There's patience, man. I just think, like, yeah, I don't think you can, like, prove Christianity, but it holds up pretty well. The whole Adam Green, like, Jesus of Nazareth was not an historical figure. He was made up. Mm. It's unlikely. That was examined. People really wanted to, like, find that to be true, and most people the vast majority of people came to understand, whether you believe he was the Son of God, he definitely was a guy who existed, very specific stuff about him. Mm-hmm. It's just hard to deny. So science didn't prove Christianity, but it certainly didn't disprove it. And I'm not sure that Islam's going to make it through that.
Yeah.
Without, and also philosophically, there's all sorts of problems. As I understand it, like, and I think in a sense, Islam is inherently atheistic because God is so irrational that why even bother?
We can't relate to him.
Yeah.
Mm. All right, this is almost it, guys. Almost at the juicy part. Like 30 seconds.
Scientifically appears to contradict something in the Quran, and I'm not saying it does, you would say the Quran is right and science is wrong, but if science will eventually see how it is.
That's how it's been all of history.
That's how we would see it as well.
What's been all of history?
Science has confirmed the Quran.
Oh, yeah, no.
I don't think so.
Oh, right?
I agree, but here's the problem. Which version do we agree with? Is it the King James version? Is it the one right before? Is the Presbyterian Bible? Is it the one we believe in? Is it the New Testament? Is it the Old Testament? Which one are we supposed to believe? Which one is the Word of God?
I get you. But how is that not a problem for the Quran?
Because if it's an interpretation, it's not Quran. You understand?
No, but I'm saying.
Look. When you're holding the Arabic Quran,
I think he's using the word interpretation here to mean translation.
Oh, that's different.
But every fundamentalist will say, this text does not need to be interpreted. But even that is an interpretation of it.
Right. Dude, I never even thought of that. That is an interpretation.
And it's obvious that every text does need to be interpreted. You can't just say the text in my mind are 100% in sync. And every human mind can read it and, not need interpretation, especially as it becomes a very, very old text.
Yeah.
It's obviously true.
Yeah.
supposed to be clean, washed.
But everyone wants to say, no. Nope. The way I read the Bible is not an interpretation. It's just what the Bible says. Okay. But you can also say, my book is not like the Bible. You don't have to interpret it. It's the same move. It's just fundamental. It's making a claim that you can't make as a human being, which is like, now the church will say we are the authentic interpreters of the scriptures, but that's different. They're not saying we're not interpreting it. We're just saying we are authentically interpreting it. We understand how people could have different interpretations, but we define basically not exactly how to. I mean, very few things have ever been definitively interpreted. But we say usually well, these interpretations on these sides are erroneous. Mm-hmm. And that we are not wrong in saying that. That's all it is. Like when we say this is not a valid interpretation, the whole religion hinges on it. We're not saying our thing isn't an interpretation, but it is an authentic interpretation.
Right.
From authority. Mm-hmm. And of course, from the scriptures themselves, you make arguments, but it's really saying it's because the Bible itself comes from the church, that the church is the authentic interpreter of the Bible. Islam does not have any such mechanism, couldn't claim to have any such mechanism. Mm. There is no authoritative, you can have the hadiths and all that stuff and the surah or whatever, but who is the living interpreter of the Quran?
Right.
Who would tell Hamas? Who would be able to tell Hamas whether October 7th was justified under Islam or not justified? Who would it even be?
Wouldn't it be a collection of scholars, but there would be no specific...
A consensus of scholars? Yeah, I guess maybe. Something like that. Mm. But same with Jews. Who's going to tell Jews what's authentic? Can you flip a light switch on the Sabbath or not? Yeah, it is just scholars. Mm. Right, go ahead.
Can't touch the pages of the Quran without being washed. You can touch the pages of an interpreted Quran, of a translated Quran.
I'm sorry. We have this CTS thing. It's a pain.
You're good, guys.
These CTS is so long.
More of these people. Okay, let me just read it so he can hear it.
Wait. No. Wait. Can I? I'll just answer this question. There is a theory.
I want Gracie so bad.
Okay, so here we have something really different than what came before here. Mm-hmm. I want Gracie so bad.
Yeah.
Right? Would anyone deny that's what's being said here?
No. Now, keep in mind, he says this with his mic to us turned off. So he's only talking to his chat.
But he did allow this to stay on his channel, even after Ava said he's been saying some wild stuff about your daughter to his chat.
Right.
We're here on Manar Reports, okay? So he did say this publicly to the whole world, except for the two of us, okay?
Right.
But you can see I'm trying to explain something to him, and he's not being respectful of that. Okay. Do you want to hit this one and then the other one and then talk about it? Right. Hearts and Flowers asks the question I would ask. Manar, what about your wife, right?
Right.
How is a married man? Okay, so
Let's listen to that one more time, and then we'll just skip ahead to the next one because
no, let's do it straight through.
Yeah. Okay. The next one solidifies
Okay, I can
this
see what
completely.
you're saying. All right, yeah.
Okay.
Well, okay. Let me just read it so he can hear it.
Wait. No, wait. I'll just answer this question. There is a theory.
I want Gracie
I don't know
so
if you know
bad.
this,
I want Gracie so bad.
It's-
Oh my, she's
I
so
say there's a
bad,
theory.
bro.
I'm talking to him. He goes, I'm going to mute this and talk to my chat and say that I mean, no one's going to interpret that any other way. Like, it's not so much I want to have sex with Grace badly, but that you say it
Right.
to your chat while I'm trying to say something.
Right.
That's respectful. That's incredibly disrespectful.
Both to us.
To
and
me, as someone you're talking with, to you, it wouldn't be a problem to have this thought internally, but like in this context, it's incredibly disrespectful to me, not as your father, but as someone you're having a discussion with intellectually, who's much bigger than you and older than you and more knowledgeable than you.
Right.
It's disrespectful to you because it's like, it's kind of, I don't know, cowardly, or I don't know. I don't know. It's weird to do
It's
that to your
weird.
bros and then leave it on there. Like,
Yeah.
It's kinda
Especially because
gross.
he claims to be married. It's
But-
super weird.
but, well, I mean, if you were talking with him, just you, and then he said, I want you so bad, I want you so bad. Okay. But that's like, that would be impolite. Like, it'd be weird, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But to say it to your homies and then leave it public, that's really weird. It's really disrespectful of like you, because you have a public relationship and then he's all saying like the sexual stuff.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
If he had gone off the stream and said, I'm in love with Grace, okay, one thing, but I want to fuck her, basically, is like, that's a little, you know what I mean? Even in America, that's kind
Yeah.
of like scumbag behavior.
Yeah.
It seems like you're more trying to say I'm not gay than that you're trying to say, like, because you wouldn't say it that way, right? Or
Yeah.
you can say I find her attractive, you're a very cute girl, or just like. But the real person here that I'm concerned with is his wife. How does a married man say that as, like, how does the wife, how does this show, and I'm talking about not on our culture, and I'm talking about normal American culture, even on internet culture. Like, how is this respectful of your wife?
Yeah.
Because you're saying, and it's fine, again, like, I don't think it's disrespectful of your wife to say, like, I'm feeling like sexually excited by this woman, but to say it publicly?
Right.
To say it publicly? And he'll try to say, like, well, I'm Muslim, maybe she'll be my second wife, but like, I'm sorry, that's not how Islam works.
No. Right. It's nobody would say that's cool
You're disrespecting your wife
publicly.
as much as you possibly could, and her father and her family. Utterly humiliating your wife. Utterly humiliating
Yeah.
your wife. I mean, and people can say, well, Ben, you haven't always been respectful of your wife. First of all, she was never my wife. I made that very clear before saying anything. And the only time I ever said anything disrespectful about her was because she was actively abusing our children, and I don't give a fuck, even if she was my wife, if she's abusing my children and not doing anything about it and speaking out about it seems the only way. We've had millions of hours of private conversation. I don't give a fuck about my wife. But if I didn't have children, why would I talk? Why would I have said one word publicly about your mother? Why?
I don't see why. Maybe you could have eventually talked
It's an
about
L
your
for me.
experiences.
It's an L for me, right?
True.
Well,
Yeah.
you married the bitch, so like, how are
Yeah.
you a victim? It's kind of embarrassing. I think I would have taken it to the grave as far as my public persona. So, but here's a guy, no kids, right? I don't think he's ever said I got kids.
No, I don't think he has kids.
But that would even make it worse.
It would make it worse,
humiliating his kid's mother publicly.
Yeah.
So how isn't this like, so even if you're a dude, put yourself in this woman's position or her brother. Isn't this like that's game over, right? I mean, he could say, I was kidding. Okay,
Yeah.
but what's the joke? What's the joke?
I don't know.
If he publicly did what you did, like, okay, you're kidding. You're saying like,
yeah, well,
because
he said,
I was
like,
setting it up
oh,
like,
is that where you get
I
your
was
spice? He said, that kind of thing.
Grace.
Sorry, I overtalked you. I'm sorry. You were.
I
Setting
think
it
I
up.
was saying like, no homo, but Grace really finds you very attractive, but whatever, right? And you're just sort of playing into that, okay?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
obviously I'm saying, trying to make an intellectual point about Islam. That's a joke. How is this a joke? How is it a joke? Who's the joke on? Me? I'm being disrespectful. I don't care about what this guy says. I just want to put my dick in his daughter.
I think that's the joke.
But he does care about what he's saying to me. He's yelling about the glories of Islam, so he does care. So I don't know how it's a flex to then randomly say, he's not really saying I don't care. He's just saying I'm horny
Yeah.
for the girl.
Bree says the joke is, look at this white Western American infidel whore. She has no honor. Respectfully, thank you, King.
But how is that? She has no honor. Okay, but like,
But you're the one being sexual.
you're saying I want to have sex with this woman. How does that make you a whore?
because
You weren't wearing clothes. You didn't look like whorish at all there.
No.
If anything, you look kind of, I don't know,
Frumpy.
I would say.
Yeah.
So for him to say like, I'm horny for her, just makes him, if that's true, then he's just like, he wants a white woman, which is
Also disrespectful to his Mexican wife.
right. But it doesn't make you look bad.
No, but then listen to this, guys. Listen to this. This is where it gets crazy. Okay.
I think he was just flexing for his chat. I think that's true, but how is it a flex to say, I would like to have sex with the girl here? I don't understand how it's a flex. Unless your chat thinks you're gay.
Right. Keep that in mind. Listen to this.
Yeah, kind of no homo.
When I was raised here in America in the 1980s, I was told that the state of Israel was founded because these terrible things happened to these people in Europe, and they went and founded the state of Israel.
So hot.
Okay. Did we all hear that? Should I turn it up? Let me turn it up. Let's go back.
I'll be right back.
Sure.
Founded because these terrible things happened to these people in Europe, and they went and founded the state of Israel.
So hot.
I would fuck the shit out of her. Fuck. She's so hot. That's what he just said. 50 minutes into meeting us, he is privately, well, not privately, but like semi-privately, muting his mic and telling his chat while pretending to listen to my dad talk to him that he wants to fuck the shit out of me. Which, rewatching it, I had no idea he said this, is kind of creepy. Not gonna lie. It's not even like, oh, wow, thanks for the compliment. It's like, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, I just met you. I'm being nice and talking to you. And you're privately telling your chat that you want to fuck the shit out of me? Like, that's just weird. Like, while I'm sitting there with my dad? No, Israel, I have a problem with what Spicoli said about my sister. Obviously.
And they went and founded the state of Israel.
So hot.
After
Okay, so let's count the levels of disrespect. First of all, disrespecting my dad. Not because I'm his daughter. I'm an adult. I mean, obviously, it is somewhat disrespectful to privately say that about a guy's daughter when she's sitting right there with him, but whatever. We'll put that to the side. More importantly, my dad is obviously invested in a good faith conversation they're having, and he's muting his mic and telling his chat while not listening to my dad that, you know, his sexual fantasies or whatever. Secondly, obviously disrespectful to me. I mean, do I really care? No, but like, obviously you're just sexualizing me when like I'm a human being. I'm talking to you. Like, I'm trying to be friendly. I'm not being sexual. You know, it's like, whatever. Kind of misogynistic, kind of like douchey. But most importantly, this is extremely disrespectful to his wife. Manar claims to have a wife. He's shown pictures of him with a woman in a wedding dress. I don't know. I don't think I could continue living. Just put yourself in this situation. Imagine you're married to a guy and he's streaming and he's talking to somebody and he mutes his mic and says he wants to fuck the shit out of her. Isn't the marriage over at this point? Now, okay, interesting. People totally believe the Thorpes are interested in not disrespecting people. Who do you think you're fooling? No. See, listen, the thing is, I don't really care about this particular incident because Ava later on the stream came on panel and said, Manar is saying he wants to fuck the shit out of you, Grace. What do you think? And I didn't really know if she was lying or not, but like I didn't really care. The point is, Manar has now claimed to be a victim of the Thorpes' disrespect and claims he's never going to work with us again because we started disrespecting him and he doesn't interact with people who do that. So we're just clearing up the record that if you want to get into disrespect and who disrespected who, the answer is him. This is 50 minutes into us meeting for the first time ever. Manar and Chief, they have the exact same, like very similar attitude. They both were in Discord posting about how they're going to fuck my mom, like over and over.
Right, because that's the honor thing of like, try to get the guy's mom or the... Right. Okay,
Yeah.
but that's all fine for Adam. But Adam's not married.
Right.
And it doesn't matter if you're Muslim. You can't disrespect your wife like that.
Right.
And this idea, well, I can have two wives. Well, not in America you can't. That's illegal.
Right. Plus his wife is Mexican, doesn't wear hijab, and is not Muslim as far
It's
as
very
anybody can
unlikely
tell.
that she's Muslim, so
Yeah.
she doesn't have this understanding. So to Manar's wife, you can instantly get this marriage annulled. Like, this is not a marriage. Couldn't possibly be a marriage if you're Christian.
Yeah.
And you have an obligation, actually, to get out of this. This is a fake. You shouldn't. This is a farce.
Yeah. Let's play it again.
Unless he was to say, like, what he should say to me is, which is no problem, but like it is important to say, like, this is like obvious disrespect. When I'm talking to you, I should listen to you and not go off camera.
Yeah.
That you start talking about having sex with my daughter is a problem, but okay, if you say, I'm sorry, I got nervous, I was being an idiot, I should be respectful. That's not a problem. With you is actually less of a problem because he's saying, I'm sexually attracted to you. Okay. I don't think that's a big deal. It's, it's a little bit like Spicoli's thing.
Yeah, that's what I said.
About your sister.
It's a little
I mean,
creepy.
she's kind of young and you don't know her, but you know her name. And, obviously you're just trying to be disrespectful. But
Yeah.
for him to say, I find her sexually attractive to his homies, if he was single, it doesn't necessarily mean that he only thinks you're a whore or something like that, right? It doesn't really mean that.
No, but can I just say though, it's weird because I was.
But to say it that way
Wait, but
when you're right there privately and yet publicly is.
I was flirting with him, and he said, "Oh no, I'm taken." And then so I'm like, okay, I'll ease off because like
Right.
I'm just doing it as a bit, but like whatever, I don't want to embarrass you. And then you privately say this.
Founded because these terrible things happened to these people in Europe, and they went
Well, can I just
founded the state of Israel
So hot.
after the second.
I just have to say, saying like I would fuck the shit out of her, bro. It's gross. I'm sorry. It's
Well, let's say
gross.
he was.
Sorry.
Yes. Yeah.
Gross.
It's kind of like saying I see her in sexual terms. Yeah, I agree with you, but it's not like. Well, compare the disrespect. Okay, we're just simply saying like he's the one who started this stuff.
Yeah.
That's undeniable.
Right.
But can you just imagine? Okay, so say I'm his wife's father. Okay, and he's saying this about my daughter, like he's saying this.
About
And
his
he's
wife.
supposedly married. Well, not about his
I'm
wife,
sorry.
but like as someone who's married to my daughter.
Yeah.
That's about as bad as it gets for a son-in-law. Publicly.
Yeah.
Like,
it's extremely
and-
dishonoring.
But that's nothing compared to the actual wife.
yeah.
The disrespect of his actual wife. Like she would have an obligation. He would have an obligation to publicly beg for forgiveness from her. I just don't, you know what I mean? This isn't like, it's nothing really to do with us.
Yeah.
Beg for forgiveness and somehow explain that. And how would you explain it? I was kidding around. I was nervous. I was just trying to be a homeboy. Okay, maybe. But you'd have to do it publicly and you'd have to beg for forgiveness. And if I was advising his wife, I would say separate immediately.
Yeah.
And it's up to you if you want to like take that apology, but it can't be private. It has to be public since you did this publicly. And you need to like clarify what marriage means, because this I'm a Muslim, I can have 4 wives thing. It doesn't work that way in Islamic countries where you can just be hitting on chicks. Secondly, you're in America. You can't, and they can go, well, we kind of have second wives, right? But you don't. You can't call her wife. You can't give her the respect of calling her your wife. She's your girlfriend. And Islam does not have a category for a wife and a girlfriend. There's no category like that. You can only do this in a Muslim country. Do you understand that? You cannot do this here.
I understand
Especially
the
with someone who
laws, as well
has
as
the
against it.
understanding of marriage of a Christian or a non-Muslim.
Yeah.
And
Didn't he?
like, so this is like because bigamy is illegal in the United States of America. Now you could petition that those laws be changed, but they haven't been changed. And Mormons, for the vast majority of Mormons, say like, yeah, while our religion allows it, you cannot do that in the United States of America. It's not okay to do side wives, even though they have shows about it and stuff like that. It's just a fake. Because if society doesn't recognize it, now you're doing a private thing. That's essentially like marriage is essentially a public thing. So, I think I just don't see how you navigate that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't see what it's not really about us. I'm kind of like saying like, you got to take the fucking ring off, dude.
Yeah.
And say like, I'm not married. And whatever for the woman, I don't see how like, and I actually think that if someone now his name's out there. Okay. So his wife's picture's out there, easy enough to reach her. She should know about this. I'm not going to do it, but like someone should tell her he's done this because there's a crisis. You have been publicly humiliated. And if he becomes a big star, which I think he will, like, she shouldn't be strung along for the ride here. That shouldn't be out there. That's gonna come around to her.
Applebread says, didn't he say his wife is okay with what he's doing and that she's watching this?
Okay, then she is a whore. Your wife is a whore then. So she has no respect for herself.
Is there any possibility at all that it could be like a joke that both he and her understand? That he's going to be this sort of like guy who hits on women online?
But how would he be hitting on women? Wouldn't he take the ring off and just not claim to be married? What?
Again,
He's a Muslim
yeah, I don't
who's
really
married
get
to
it.
his wife, and he's all about traditional morality, but he's also a Mac Daddy online. It doesn't make any sense as a joke.
It doesn't make sense even as a character to present to other people.
Yeah. It's like Destiny owns who he is, and I give him credit for that. I don't think he ever tried to cover it up. But
Well,
like
a little bit like I want to have a slave teenage boy that I can do stuff with.
yeah.
A little bit. But yeah, generally speaking, no.
So I don't. Hold on a second.
Yeah. What's even the theoretical joke? I don't understand.
How come that doesn't work?
I don't know. It's weird.
Try this one.
If he's going for the I'm a flirty guy online concept, then he would take the ring off and
John,
just
you're welcome
play
to.
a character.
I was speaking to John in chat. You're welcome to come up here, but like sitting there and chat like a little F slur, it's enough, dude. Go do your own channel, do your own thing. Like it's so. You make Manar look like a big man.
Yikes. Juice says she's probably just on board with it.
I could see a married person saying like, "I flirt with people on the internet." No problem.
As a married man or pretending to be single?
Well, I'm not going to do anything. I just flirt around on the internet. I play the Mac Daddy. But we're not trying to present. I'm not trying to present myself as a sort of like bastion of morality. Okay.
Okay. Sure.
Okay. Fine. You know what I mean? But it is weird. It is weird. I would say.
But then there would be two things going on. Number one, you wouldn't be doing it privately. You'd do it to the person. You'd flirt with the person, right?
You wouldn't do it. What?
You wouldn't do it semi-privately. You'd flirt with the woman, not secretly tell your chat, "I want to fuck the shit out of her."
Yeah, I mean, you could see this as like, so this doesn't work in our culture at all. It doesn't work in normal culture at all. Does it work on YouTube culture? The only thing I can think of is like, so if his troll is, I'm going to get this old geezer to think I want to talk about religion, but I'm going to bang his daughter because I'm a fuck boy and that's my like flex, and I'll show you the used condom or something when I have her over. Okay, that could work. But then that's who you are, not in the whole Islam thing is just you absolutely don't care about it whatsoever.
Yeah. But
And
I don't
that's
think he's
not
that
really
guy.
like, so this whole thing of all 2 years online is setting that up so that you can actually play the fuck boy. It doesn't make any sense.
I don't see. Yeah, that's the only way it could work. Didn't he flirt with you to your face too, though? He said, "I'm spicy." Not really. And then I flirted back, and then he said, "I'm taken." So,
Yeah.
don't really.
I don't know.
Don't
I mean,
really
he
get it.
did it. I didn't do it. It's for him to figure out. It doesn't make any sense.
I don't really care,
It
but
doesn't make any sense.
doesn't make any sense. Why? If
Yeah,
you're
like Darius. If he's Darius, or like Destiny, right? Destiny was married when he talked to you.
yeah,
He kind of flirted with you, but he was pretty respectful, I think,
yeah,
in terms of that stuff.
but he also had an open marriage, so
That's what I'm saying. But like he's married, but like he kind of more or less openly uses his platform, or did, but he has now renounced doing that, although he's also not married at this point. Like it didn't work out
True.
for him. It didn't
No.
it didn't work out for him. And you know, it's weird to use your fame to get sex and then trade the sex for fame, which is what he did, right? For access to a platform. So I don't know. I mean, no one, I think, is like, Destiny is my sexual sort of role model. No one, gay, straight, or Chinese. And
No.
this guy also is in a similar position. Doesn't make any sense. Especially now, especially also you're showing a picture of your wife, right? Okay, so
Yeah.
you're trying to get the like points for being like a married guy, you know,
Yeah.
like I believe the ethics. So then what are you doing saying this stuff?
Right.
And why would you be right? Why it doesn't make any sense. It's all
It
like
does
that
not
marriage is
cohere.
over.
Baby girl says, okay, alternate theory. Seems to me that if Manar's wife will be cool with him having a second wife, then she'll be cool with him flirting online. I don't think she's going to be cool with him having a second
Can't
wife.
have a second wife in America.
First
it
of
just
all,
doesn't
it's
even
illegal.
matter.
Secondly, she's a Mexican woman. She doesn't wear hijab. She's not doing this thing.
Yeah.
So, what's the angle here? The angle is twofold. Number one, Manar claims we disrespected him, and that's why he can't work with us. And he lives by an honor code, and that's really terrible that we did that
And
to
that
him.
maybe we misunderstood. The idea was like maybe you misunderstood it as a Westerner or something like that.
Right.
Bullshit.
Meanwhile, he was openly disrespecting both of us and his own wife from the very beginning, before
Yeah.
we even knew who he was or really trusted him or didn't trust him or anything like that. And Manar claims
I'm not
to
saying
be...
I'm not saying that I can't continue interacting with Manar because of this thing with his wife. That's up to him and her. But the idea that he's somehow a victim of being disrespected by us is bullshit. Because once you go there in any culture, then people can go back.
Yeah.
And it is actually true here. I didn't know about this until we looked it up. It does seem like the only explanation is he's trying to seem heterosexual. That would be the only impetus to do this,
Yeah.
to try to seem heterosexual, because anyone could do that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just going to talk to chat, which is like
Yeah.
3 people, by the way.
Right.
But like, why would you say like, hey guys, I want to have sex with her? Like, what is the impetus? Why not just keep that private? Why would you? And he probably is like psychologically, he was just nervous, right? But like,
I think so, yeah.
and then Ava came on and talked about it, and he didn't take it down. He didn't apologize for it. It's like,
No, yeah.
okay, so you've got a problem,
Yeah.
and this whole "I'm a victim" thing doesn't make any sense.
Mr. Stinky Brew coming in with a hot comment.
If I spoke to the Grace the way he did online, and
And
saw
on
me,
this
missus.
side, I would have a lot of serious explaining to do, especially the PDF stuff. I think it's an act. It's all bullshit. He's not Indian.
No, he's
He's
Indian,
Indian,
not Muslim.
not Muslim. You're going to get that sound clip every time you chat, Mr. Stinky Brew. Isn't it?
But that wasn't the original, was it? That's not the
No, it
theme
was.
song.
Listen to the beginning. I think this is the original.
Oh yeah. You gotta show the cover too. You really gotta. Oh, Stinky Brew, you gotta put your own head next, and right here. There's a spot right for it.
Yeah.
So, come on, Sponge.
I told Sponge to make me an AI of Mr. Stinky
You
Brew
gotta
as
AI
Wallace
his
and
face
Gromit.
somewhat like this, and he's right there. And it.
So good. So
Okay, so that's about it. It's 1:11 a.m. I'm tired.
Yeah.
So here it is, and he can do what he wants with it. I'm not interested in that. Like, I have no relationship to his wife. I don't even know if she exists. I don't know if he's married. I don't
Yeah.
know anything about her
Yeah.
or them. I don't really care that much, but I do think I'm owed an explanation. Like we're all owed an explanation of that. And he can, since he feels free about lying, I think lying could be excused there if, like, just to say, like, just to cover it up would be better than just looking, looking like you're this person. I just don't know how you can go on. This is gonna, like, I believe you have the chops to make it on YouTube. This is gonna be dogging you forever unless you deal with it right now.
Yeah.
But as far as being disrespected by us, well, you clearly started this, like, in the most egregious way. I mean, there was not even any kind of, like, psychological motivation to do this. I wasn't coming at you at all.
Yeah. Doesn't make any sense.
Arsenal Taco system.
And if your only reason for doing that, for disrespecting everyone involved, me, my dad, your wife, her family, my family, if your only reason for doing that was to prove to your chat that you're not gay, then
it was natural also to ask the question, are you gay? And I would love to explore that next. Is it okay? I'm not interested in your sexuality, but I'm interested, and I tried to do this with Glenn Lawrence for a couple hours this morning, to say that young men who, like, are, you know, if someone suggested to you, like, I think you're gay, dude, you should be open to that. And even just rhetorically, when you start saying, I'm not gay, and I take a lot of offense at that, it looks kind of gay. And especially in a gay, open culture, I think you've got to be kind of a liberal in that sense of saying, if I was gay, in this sense, if I'm gay, I should admit it and then go from there. Mm-hmm. And not acknowledging something like that is really destructive. Cue the Pulse nightclub footage if you don't think that's true. You see what I'm saying?
yeah.
Everyone's going to say that's true. Doesn't mean you got to act on it, but you got to be aware of it, and you should be open to it. Anyone should be open to that, because homosexuality exists in the Arab world and in every world. You got it.
We got it. Thank you, Sponge. He needs to be fatter, though. He needs to be a bit fatter, I think.
That does really.
Hello. Hi, Ruby. Ruby, how you doing? How you doing, Ruby? Fatter. Ava, yeah, just wanted to clear some things up from the chat. Oh, I meant it in a sarcastic way, Ruby. Okay.
Funny. So funny. Right.
So, I think we did a great job with that.
We'll let Manar report back. And if he doesn't, then I think we're getting close to saying that we're going to take a break from the internet and say, you know what, we tried. No more trying. We'll stay on the internet, you know, selling stuff or whatever when it's convenient, but we're not trying any longer, like 2.5 years. And that's it. So Manar has the power in his hands.
He has the power.
And I could see how you'd say, like, at this point, like, it doesn't look like it would be very difficult for him to re-engage with us. Mm. So maybe that's what it is. And if so,
Interesting.
Not how I saw it. I thought he was the type of guy, hot-headed, but the next day would be like, sorry about that, you know, and totally, like, nice. But he's on day 3 of claiming to be a victim of his own obvious, overwhelming disrespectfulness, which no one agrees with him on. He doesn't find any allies, including Ava. And Ruby's even not on his side. No. Ava's, like, barely kind of, you know. So,
we'll see.
Interesting.
We'll see.
Radio Foreman, no way you guys are quitting. You're in too deep. Yeah, no, that's the gambler's fallacy. I'm not into that.
Yeah.
I've obviously invested in things that I've experienced. Like I'm not like despairing of your life and of hope. It's a terrible thing, but despairing of, a particular project. As soon as you're in a war, as soon as you're not going to win that war, even if it was justified, as soon as it's clear you're not going to win that war, surrender. As soon as you can't win this. Even if you won this war, you'd lose this war. You know what I mean? You're going to lose too many men. Hard to do. People don't do it. I love doing it. Benedict the 16th, right? The Pope. He's got like 258 guys before him. Only one had ever resigned. And he's like, you know what? I'm resigning.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean? I get it. And these cuckoo clocks, Patrick Coffin is going to say, that wasn't legitimate. He's like, for me, it makes sense. It just makes sense. I don't care. The tradition maybe no longer makes sense. I watched John Paul like hang in there, and like I watched, kind of bad elements get a lot of power because he did that. And he was certainly a holy man. No shade to him, but like, I'm a bounce here.
Yeah.
And maybe that was historically speaking, like that was a wrong move. Francis, interestingly, a liberal, was like, no, I'm doing it till death. But he never said Benedict was wrong. But whatever. I'm more like Benedict. I'm into despair because our family thing, man, I almost died. Yeah. I mean, I almost spiritually just like died forever. I had the symptoms of mental illness that people say you never recover from. Mm-hmm. And so I almost died. So like, I don't fucking care. My relationship with God is the only thing that really matters. Anything else can be despaired of. And I tend to be a hanger on, but like, I've learned to let go.
You don't have to leave the internet just because Kings didn't work out. I refuse to believe that Ben is out of ideas.
I'm not out of ideas, but I'm out of. I think it's maybe just too early for us. Like, you know what I mean? We're just too far ahead of our time, and there's just no one in this space who gets what we're doing. So,
can I just clarify, like, not leaving, like we're never gonna.
I need
click.
Here,
go
you know what
live
actually comes
again.
through? You can't be my co-host, and I respect that. I need a co-host. I'm a. So
yeah.
Someone wants to try to be my co-host. Manar was my last, hope. I still have a lot of hope in him because where else is he going to go? That was the thing that Jesus said. They all left him, and he's like sitting there, and it's kind of interesting. He says, "And you? What about you?" And he's like, "Well, where else am I going to go?" Right? It's kind of like
based.
Very human, right? And
yeah.
It's kind of like, yeah. I mean, that's
got no other option.
That's he's got no other options really. So if he's going to pull something out, it doesn't look like it. Knowing human psychology and knowing guys like this, they tend to be like just super obstinate. But who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? The Holy Spirit may move him. I do think that God wants Keemstar to be punched in the face by me. Seemed like that, but apparently he gets a pass because Manar is my fist, and I need a fist, and you're not going to be a fist, and I totally respect you for that.
Yeah.
So.
But the point would be that, like, we're just not going to try to, like,
and
make
the Becky
a
thing
living,
was the perfect time.
Make a living off of this. That's the point, right? It's like creative endeavors, hobby as a side, yes.
Yeah.
But, like, the idea
IRL
that...
trip, hello, how are you guys doing?
Right.
Just hobby, though, yeah.
Absolutely. As a hobby.
I'm not saying we're there yet.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I'm not saying we're there yet, but at a certain point, you just kind of like say like, all right, well, it's not worth pursuing. We're not quite there yet, but because he's still sort of obsessed with us. But if he, just dips or, just like kind of moves on to just keeping doing my, Islamic apologetics. And then, that becomes interesting to him. I just would have to say, like, then we're just putting it on, what's the word? Putting it on the back burner.
On the back burner.
And it's not coming off the back burner until I get someone like that, meet someone like that.
Yeah.
And of course, putting it on the back burner makes it, whether it's him or someone else, putting it on the back burner makes it less likely to meet that person. So I get it.
Thanks, baby girl.
You
That's
know?
nice. Hiatus. I mean, yeah, you run a business and at a certain... I
mean, it's
didn't even
kinda like-
understand why my dad was saying,
It's
like...
not a hiatus because a hiatus is temporary.
Yeah.
This is like, could be a day, could be, but we're not planning to take it off the back burner.
yeah.
This would say, prudentially speaking, that's in the Lord's hands.
Right, right.
And it would be not surprising to take it off, but would be, hard to see. It certainly as time goes on, hard to see
Yeah.
how it would happen. But like me having an idea is not going to bring us back into it. Nope.
I mean, when you're running a business and you're making less than a McDonald's worker, you can believe in it and keep trying, but at a certain point, it's just rational just to say, like, okay, can I hit these levels? Can I achieve these goals? If not, I don't think this is going to be a success. And
Yeah.
if that doesn't happen, it doesn't happen.
Yeah, you double down, you double down, you double down. At a certain point, you just walk away and go, I just don't think I'm going to make it big here. I'm not going to hit it big.
Yeah.
So we're not there yet. But we're
not
getting
there yet.
much closer to it. Much closer to it.
What would an average day of Thorpe's Not Streaming look like? How would you fill your time?
How would you fill your time?
That's the better question.
Oh, rest, get good food,
Selling things,
make money in normal ways.
normal ways.
Rest, exercise, all that stuff. Yeah. Well, it's a lot. I mean, hey, this has been very oppressive.
Yeah, you guys suck.
Certainly stay in touch on Discord and whatever.
They do exactly what they do on stream. Grace's father
we may
is...
do boring streams until KCIP, just like if they're going to pay us to do what we're doing anyways. But we're not going to be trying to
not trying to make a living off
Make-
of this.
great live films for anyone,
Yeah.
because that's not enough money in and of itself to
Yeah.
justify the amount of work.
It's just not enough
Effort.
money. Yeah. Even though I kind of love it. I would always want to do it, even as a hobby. But I guess it would be kind of sad doing it as a hobby. But it's like, it could just be a side hustle. You make some money off of it, but it's not your main source of income.
Yeah. So I don't think we're at that point.
Not there yet.
Totally.
Not.
The hands
or
of the
honestly
Lord
not.
and
Yeah.
Manar, but if he wants it, he can really definitively flex, but he would have to do it by not flexing, just completely ignoring us, and in a few days, we'd largely be done. I really think so, But currently, he's ultra obsessed, so, and I certainly don't think he should do anything out of sympathy for us or anything. He has no obligation. It's just,
No. Yeah. It is what it is.
All right. Would you want to send everyone over to Lolcow Rejects? or
I would
something?
love to. Dalmatian, you're in the chat. Are you sure you don't want to get a stream set up on Rejects and just take it? I've got 100 people in the YouTube chat.
I mean, certainly if someone wants to give us $100,000, we would keep going. But I don't think that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I would do that.
You'll go
at this
live?
point.
Awesome, Dalmatian. Go set it up.
You know what I mean?
I'll,
Even
raid.
if someone says, I'll give you $100,000, I'd be like, I don't know. Which is crazy.
I would say yes. Send it over.
To really be in the game.
Sure, yeah. Give it another year or two. Who cares?
Well, we pull a Lalo, take the $100,000 and just not do anything.
We could do that too. The number one rule is don't tell anybody who's going to give you $100,000. I don't think so. Walked in the woods. You're live now? All right. I don't see it. Might take it. Oh.
Oh.
You actually are. That's amazing. Nobody ever does that. You know what I mean? Hey, do you want my viewers? Yeah, I'll go live right now. Nope, I've never seen anybody do that.
Welcome to the internet, Grace.
It's blowing my fucking brain. Mind. Anyways.
What's written on your shirt? Deep Ellum. Deep Ellum is the name of a neighborhood in Dallas.
Yeah.
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 Then we went to an arts fair. Grace is gonna see these things and cry now.
Fucking brain.
We-
Bruh, that's true. Yeah. Okay. See you guys later. Bye-bye.